Students of the Dogtasia Institute, a duel is about to commence. For your safety and viewing pleasure, please be aware of the following rules. The dueling committee would like to inform you that the pilots, under the stress of a duel, may engage in language that is not suitable for all audiences, bringing up scenarios and plans that might be risque, as well as causing psychic damage. Student listening discretion is advised. Under stress, pilots may spoil all of Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury, as well as any and all other Gundam and anime stories. We advise a supplemental watching to engage with the anime before watching a school-sanctioned replay of this duel. Finally, the views and opinions expressed here are that of the individual pilots and the dueling committee members and do not reflect the Dogtasia Institute as a whole. Haro! The duel has finished. Thank you for listening, Haro. Good work out there.
Good evening, one and all, and welcome to the Dubbing Committee. Here, the fine members put up dubs one against each other to duel, so that they can take of their ownership. With me tonight, I have members of the Dubbing Committee. I have Jet.
Hey there.
And I have Jamal.
Gund!
And I am your head host, Megan. Tonight here, we present before you the next in the great line of Gundam anime, who will put its dub up for judgment. That's right, we're talking about the 2022-2023 anime series Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury. So, before I get into the plot summary, and now I can actually talk like a normal human being, hi! We're talking about Gundam again!
It's been... Oh god, I don't even know how many years now.
Probably 3 or 4. Opa, Gundam
we talked about Gundam during the summers, guys.
We talked
about a Gundam movie during the summer.
Sorry, I was thinking back to Iron Orphans.
Oh yeah, I was thinking Iron Orphans. That was the last one I was on, and I was like... I don't want to think about how many years ago that was. That'll make me feel old.
I promise you this time, nobody will be calling somebody their Oni-chan.
Opa, Gundam style.
We might hear some Ode-sama, though.
I have to keep the Oni-sama thing in the back of your mind. I have a story for later about a Gundam series in that phrase. No, but tonight we are here to talk about Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury, I've got to say it, the mega hit of 2022-2023 that I think a bunch of people went into going, alright, this will be a perfectly fine Gundam anime. And then we met the Space Oomphy. What's she gonna do? Oh my god, she's murdering people! And then a couple of months later, I woke up on a crisp October morning to hear, holy shit, this is gay!
I think that was the part that surprised me. Like, I watched the... I watched the prologue, I went, okay, yeah, this is perfectly fine, I'll watch it. Then I kept hearing everyone say, like, oh my god, it's Utena, and I'm like, wait, really?
It's Utena, it's the Tempest, it's all the fun of Gundam's politics, all condensed to 24 episodes. Well, 25 if you count the OVA.
God damn!
So let's get kicked off with the summary, which is in the year Ad Stella 101. Researchers at the Vondas Institute create GUND, an advanced brain-computer interface that enables the human nervous system to control artificial appendices and organs. The purpose of GUND was to enable humans to survive in the harsh environment of space. After receiving funds from the mobile suit manufacturer Ox Earth, the technology was developed into the GUND format and employed for military use, leading to the creation of GUND arms, mobile suits that use the GUND format to increase the performance of their pilots. However, extensive use of GUND arms results in the pilots being crippled or even killed. In response, the Mobile Suit Development Council, led by the top mobile suit developing companies, ordered a permanent ban on the GUND format and its application. Council member Delling Rembrandt deployed special forces to Team Dominicus to destroy the Vondis research facility Faulkner, killing everybody aboard to erase traces of its technology. Only 2 people survived. Mobile suit test pilot Eleonora Saima and her 4-year-old daughter Eric Samaya. In the aftermath, those responsible for the development of the gun format were ostracized, and because the team was primarily composed of women, they became known as witches. In Ad Stella 122, 21 years after the Vandus incident, Soletta Mercury transfers from Mercury to the Osteska School of Technology, an academic institute run by the megacorp, the Burnett Group. Upon arrival, she encounters a girl escaping the institute, Minori Rembrandt, who wants to escape the control of her father. As their paths cross in the academy with different ambition and goals, Soletta will have to prove her worth as a pilot into the academy alongside the Gundam Ariel, a mobile suit built with the forbidden gun format technology. Just a reminder that Gundam is not an Ariel until it is. Ariel is not a Gundam until we say it's a Gundam.
Oh, hot damn. This is a Gundam.
Oopsie whoopsie, we made a fucky wucky. Ariel is in fact a Gundam.
Gee, I wonder what gave it away.
And along the way, there are, the normal Gundam things, like war politics, and politics, and politics.
And murder. Why did my TV just randomly flicker?
Your TV is possessed by a Gundam. But this is kind of interesting as a dub because The Witch from Mercury is the first Gundam series that was primarily recorded in Texas. A lot of the other ones have been done through Canada, New York, and LA. This one was the first with the primarily Texas cast. So are you guys ready to jump into the ADR and writer, the ADR team and the writer of the show?
Will do, but there's also another first to this.
What?
I'm ready to jump into it, but there's also another first to this. It's also the only Gundam so far with a female protagonist.
Yeah, that's true. This is the first Gundam with a female protagonist. It is, however, not the first Gundam to have a gay lead, as Amuro was breaking that barrier by punching Char in the face years ago.
Pretty much.
Listen, kids, if anybody tells you Gundam is straight, that's a lie. Look at Char and Amuro. If you've been in a fight for more than 7 years, you're legally in love.
I was just about to bring that up.
Also, IBO ended in 2 women getting together after being in a polyamorous relationship and one of them fucking a dude in a cockpit, so,
Yeah,
okay, look, let's be real. G-Witch is for lesbians. Iron-Blooded Orphan is for, asexual and polyamorous people. Because, I'll be real, as somebody who's, a quarter of the way through IBO, Naze Turbine is the only harem protagonist I respect.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So jumping back into the pilot seat for this, piloting our dub is Jason Lord at the helm as lead director, and he is assisted by Aaron Roberts, Ben Ballamansita, Kevin Thilwell, and Marcus Stimmick. And on the writing side, we have Alex Mai. Due to the large cast that we have to go over after this, we're going to keep our credits very short. Jason Lord has directed series such as Dead Mount Deathplay, and Alex Mai wrote the scripts for Classroom of the Elite Season 2. So let's just kick it off. How do you guys feel about the directing and writing on this?
Writing is really good. I really liked it. I really liked the script for this one. I watched the show in Japanese, and it was pretty 1-2-1, I would say, for the most part. A little bit of punching up here and there because you kind of can't have a Texas limit of that. And I felt like whatever they did that felt appropriate. And considering Sunrise probably wants over this like a hawk, it's kind of about what I would expect on that end. Direction-wise, this was kind of the first thing I've this is kind of my first Jason Lord dub, so I wasn't really quite sure what to expect. I think for the most part, the direction was like really solid. I think that I thought all the performances were like really well acted, and I wouldn't have any complaints on that one on that front. Having said that, I will say I did have a few nitpicks about how a few characters were kind of directed to sound in terms of like character voices that they used. In a sense, it kind of reminded me of, and this is gonna sound like a weird thing, but it's kind of roll with me here. In a way, it kind of reminded me of like mid 2000s, like I don't know, like Studiopoulos stuff, like Bleach or Naruto in that respect. Where you have characters who are kind of like directed to have like very specific character voices, where the characters are made to sound like very distinct. So if you're looking away from the screen, you can easily tell who's talking, and that kind of thing can be charming in its own way. But but at the same time, for something like this, I was also kind of expecting, I was also kind of expecting it to be a little more grounded in some places, and some character voices are maybe a little more exaggerated than I would have expected. Like, it's not a deal breaker, but it is something I noticed.
Awesome. Jamal?
Yeah, so before this, I did check out Death by Death Plane. I thought his direction was pretty solid. He did a very spectacular job with this dub. I mean, having to direct a large cast required a large team at work. I know he was like a big Gundam fan from back in the day. And, like, I understand he has a good sense of rhythm and stuff because apparently he used to be a drum major. But I think what really made this work is that, like, well, for one thing, I remember that he is new to ADR direction, but he has done some video game direction before because he directed a project called Freedom Planet years ago. Mm-hmm. That may or may not by a little known individual you might have heard of named Don Bennett. So I was familiar with his work from a long time ago, so I know that he can handle properties like these with ease, especially when it comes to what he's very passionate about. That having been said, I did have one qualm with casting, but it was less the casting and more the certain people's reception to a certain character, but I think I'll expand more on that when we get to her. Mm-hmm. As for the writing, it was very pristine. I didn't really notice anything out of the ordinary, nothing that took me out of the show or anything, and Alex did a very good job with the script he had. I know he had some help as well, because I think it was also Jared Green and Natalie Van Sistine on this as well. So, like I said, a big property such as this, you need as much staff as you can get on this, because I think Jason had more time to cook with the show, because this show came out like a season after it aired as a sub. So once he got a hold of that, he knew what he had to do as soon as he was announced for this project.
Yeah, I think they held back dubbing it, I think, to be closer so that they could dub season 2 while season 2 while it was airing. Are you good, Jamal, or you want to keep going?
I just want to say, I don't know if like he knew there was going to be a season 2 out at the time, but the timing on that was very spectacular, and I think he really knocked it out of the park. So
yeah, for me, it was a little different, I think. I think the writing in the show was really good. Like, I can't say anything bad about Alex Mai's writing. I think that he did keep it grounded. Okay, yeah, so let me add this back. Yes, Alex Mai, Jared Green wrote allegedly episode 18, and Natalie Van Sistine wrote a bit for season 2. But I think they definitely kept a lot of Alex Mai kept a lot of really, like, what worked for, the writing in the show, that this is a series, like most Gundams, that is rooted in very real-world politics.
Yeah.
That's just an aspect of Gundam as a franchise that is there. is that as much as Gundam is a toy selling machine in Japan, it still has a lot that it's talking about. So I think that Alex really works there. And then we come to the direction which I think is a little bit more inconsistent than I would have personally liked. But I think that's something I've noticed kind of across the couple of Gundam dubs I've watched, pretty much. I think that there are some secondary characters where Alex is really maybe pushing some people's roles or sounds. I know we're not talking about them, but some of the Pell Grannies, I'm gonna call them, some of them sound, even though they all look the same age, they sound widely varied range apart in ages, despite the way that they look. There are some, maybe, I think, decisions on character acting that I necessarily wouldn't have made, and it works for some people I know, but it doesn't work for other people I know. And then I think kind of the biggest nail kicker that is for this dub is that a little more care, I think, could have been done into matching the characters, that the way that they look to the people playing the voices. While there are characters in the series who are clearly MENA, Middle Eastern, North African, that are played by there are others who aren't. It really does feel like after the initial kind of backlash to when the cast was announced that Jason Lord did at least do good to get the other characters around. But that being said, I do think that in the grander perspective of Gundam, especially comparing the last two major franchise dubs, G-Witch had a few missteps, but if you go back and look at, like, Iron-Blooded Orphans cast, there are some pretty egregious ones in there, too.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to dispute that. It is, like, it is definitely, like, mid-2010s magazine in that respect, yeah.
Yeah, like, it's a widely consistent issue across Gundam dubs as a franchise in some cases. But it's like, it's not that we're, like, not talking about it. We'll obviously talk about it more, like, when we get into those particular characters, but it is something that is sadly has to be said, especially given recent going around at the time of this recording, issues in the VO sphere. And it's just one of those things that you kind of have to bring it up, especially in my case, because out of the three of us on this recording, I'm the white person. I'm gonna say that. And at least in my position, if I'm seeing this as a fellow white person, I should be calling this out so that these two guys don't have to always keep doing it. Like, I think that, hey, Jason, you did a really great job directing. Maybe next time you get a property that has characters who are clearly based not in, like, I don't even want to say, like, some fantasy races, because it's obviously very clear, like, sometimes you watch fantasy anime and it's like, this is clearly based off of this race of people, one-to-one real life. But in a show like Gundam, where a lot of these characters actually come from these countries of descent, it's like, please do your due diligence.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, please do your due diligence for, like, 10 minutes and audition these people and give them the shot, because you may have had the great performance, and I'm not going to say, like, these actors who play their characters didn't give good performances if they did give good performances. I'm just saying you probably could have also gotten a performance that is just as good, if not better, from an actor who might represent the character more.
Yeah, well said.
Alright, are you guys ready to move on to our first set of characters?
Yep.
Alright, so, despite this, being Gundam at school, there are a lot of people kind of trying to murder you or use you as, like, a chess piece. So we're going to talk about the first set of characters who would do that. They are Sarius, Zanelli, Vim, Jeturk. I have to laugh because if you switch, that's very close to my dad's name, the first name.
Oh, God.
Yeah, if you put the J instead of the V, there we go. Sophie Pouanet and Noria Dunak. Sarius Zanelli is the head of the Zanelli Corporation. He is one of the 4 megacorps in the Barrett group. He is Shadiq's adopted father. You find out that him and his corporation have this academy where they take in Earth orphans and raise them up. Pretty much, he spends a lot of time just being there like, okay, son, do the thing that I asked you to do, until in season 2 he becomes the hostage of choice for Shadiq's plan.
He is like maybe the one person among the Megacorps who is like, if not necessarily trying to do the right thing, he at least like isn't constantly trying to scheme in the background.
On his opposite is Vim Jedder, a man so abrasive and so angry who has tried to kill Delling Rembrandt at least twice, is kind of a huge asshole to his sons.
Yep.
Mostly his son Gruel, which his aggression and pride gets the better of him and gives his son PTSD when he gets stabbed at the end of season 1 and blows up in space.
As you do. It's a Gundam.
You know. Then we have Sophie Poulinet. She is a quote-unquote witch from Earth, a terrorist of the Dawnfold group. She is the far more psychotic and crazy one who wants to chase Suletta down and calls her big sister. She just wants to live and feel alive, and that's why she dies first. In season 2. And then we have Noria. Noria is the far more quiet one, yet she also wants and seeks revenge on the world for putting Earth the way it is, as in the world of Witch from Mercury, Earth is basically being used for its resources and constantly dialed on by the people who live in space. Noria goes with Sophie to try to infiltrate the quote-unquote Earth House at the school, eventually, of being part of Shadiq's plan. Eventually she decides to just let loose and destroy everything that has destroyed her happiness because she misses Sophie, and she, much to one of my favorite characters' chagrin, passes away in the attacks. Playing Sarius Zanelli is Mike Smith. Playing Vim Jeturk is Chris Sabat. Playing Sophie Poulinet is Emmy Lowe. And playing Noria Janak is Megan Shipman. Mike Smith, you'll actually know as the titular Kurukurs Doen in Mobile Suit Gundam, Kurukurs Donen's Island. An entire movie made off an episode of Gundam that they all wanted to ignore existed.
That's totally it for you.
Christopher Sabat, you guys will all know very well, but I think everybody kind of knows him as, I think this is the most appropriate character to put for Chris, given Vim's pride, in Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z. Except for Vegeta's a good dad. You would much rather have Vegeta's dad between the two. Megan Chipman, you'll know as Gigi on Saluda in Mobile Suit Gundam Hathaway. And Emmy Lowe, you'll know as Lucy in Cyberpunk Edge Runners. Alright, so I feel like it's easier to start with Vim and Sarius, because out of the 4 characters here, those 2 do the least.
Can we call Sarius by his actual name, though? Robert Freeman?
You're not wrong. It really does just look like Robert Freeman from the
I really cannot unsee
it. Robert Freeman in space! Somebody please just edit all of Sarius's interactions with Shadiq with that character, please.
But yeah, as mentioned before, Sarius is just kind of like the one guy who's just sort of, taking... trying to take his business seriously, trying to do things by the book, and I feel like Mike's performance gets that across really well. Which is why he can kind of see the character getting very clearly frustrated by everyone else who's constantly scheming all the time.
He's the one guy who's like, really, you fucking assholes?
Mm-hmm.
And you can especially tell when it, and it's especially interesting when his relationship with Shadiq, where where he knows Shinique is up to something, but he's not quite sure what it is. And if he's not necessarily rolling along with it, he is just kind of, I guess, not doing too much to stop him necessarily.
Just there like, Shanique, what are you doing? Shanique, nothing, Dad. Are you sure? Yeah, nothing. Until he gets kidnapped by a bunch of girls.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, I think Mike does a good job there. And I do also kind of like, and I also thought his interaction with Miori toward the end of the show was pretty interesting, where like everything's going wrong and like they have to make a decision about like what to do with the future of the company, and he's willing to be the fall guy to keep the company going. It's like, you know what? There's almost no corporate CEOs who would do that. So you know what? Good on him. You get one.
You get one, Mr. CEO, man. Yeah, no, like, I liked his performance, too. I would say it's not maybe the most memorable performance, seeing as poor Mr. Zanelli, you know, just kind of gets, like, I'm over here, now I'm over here, and, like, most of season 2, he's spent locked in a fucking pod.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
we put your dad in a storage container in space, and we're keeping him hostage.
Yeah, he's basically like the only CEO that kind of gets jobbed.
He's the CEO who deserves the least to get jobbed in this show, because, like, even he was kind of like, wait, you fucking murdered all those people? What the hell? Like, he seemed very anti, like, destroying everything at the beginning of the show, too.
Yeah, he was one of the few voices of reason there.
And then, Christopher Sabat's just spitting absolute venom as
Mr.
Vim.
It really is nice whenever Chris Sabat gets to play like absolute slime balls. It doesn't happen very often. When it does, it's delightful.
They should have changed his name from Vim to Vitriol.
Yeah. Vim is probably, like, I would say Vim is, like, third place in terrible parents in this show. In terms of things. But Sabat's performance is a ton of fun. It's just, like, it's literally, hey, Chris, I need you to be the worst human possible for, like, 20 minutes.
Yeah, he can do that easily. He's a jokester in the booth, I hear sometimes. So it's easy for him to be his absolute worst, even when he doesn't mean it all that well. You know, that's the nature of being an actor sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, he really does just spew absolute vitriol with this character. This a guy who's just very clearly willing to do whatever it takes to get ahead, whether it's assassination or abusing his own kids. And I don't think he puts Guel through is just really depressing. Like this, that's very clear. He does not think of Guel as like an actual person, and just a tool for abuse for his own. Oh,
no, go ahead.
Are you gonna say something?
No, I was going to say, I don't think he thinks a lot of things through, because there was at one point he thought that Donna Ford was betraying him, so he set out in a mobile suit, only to accidentally chase down his son and get killed by him. And that's when I went, oh shit, in the Discord. I was like, holy.
Yeah.
Well, okay, we say the 9 orphans kids get it, but let's be real. There is not a single Gundam where a kid does not get traumatized in a robot.
It's just part of the job. You gotta get traumatized, kids. I think the other thing too is I think the only time you actually see him be kind of like gentle towards his kids are when Grell's got the sword stabbing into him.
Yeah, literally right as he's about to die, he's like, "Oh, I'm glad you're okay." And it's like, damn.
That's literally his only turning point, and then when it happened, he did the check. Jeez. Yeah, that had to be very traumatizing for Guel, because
Grell's weak at that point is utter fucking shit.
Daddy Soju sends you to work. Daddy Soju sends you to work in a factory. So you find out, and then you find out you killed him. It's a week.
Whoopsie! Yeah, and, like, the other time you actually ever see him, I think, be kind of gentle is the day that he introduced Lauda and Girl to each other.
Yeah.
And, like, that's it. Speaking of people who have no gentleness, Megan Shipman!
Hi there, listeners. It's Ed and Jamal from the cutting room floor. During our discussion of the Donna Fold characters, we accidentally mixed up the actors. Whoopsie. So you may hear us talk about Megan Shipman as Sophie and Emilo as Noria. Please take that with a grain of salt and follow this conversation best you can. Thank you for listening.
This is unlike... I don't really hear Megan Shipman do a lot of roles where she gets to do, like, the crazy girl a ton. I feel like that's usually reserved for a lot of other female actors and not her. But this year, people have determined to do that differently. Thank you, Jason Lord and Jeremy Inman, if you know on the second one. But Megan's... It's like... You know there's a sense of childish there to Sophie's character because she is this emotionally stunted war victim. But it's also clear that she's been used by Dawnfold and the adults around her to become this psychotic zealot. And Megan's performance really nails that.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when she's in the fight against Suletta at the Royal Rumble, which, yeah, nothing says school unity like, hey, everybody, team deathmatch.
Well, it was more Halo than Team Deathmatch. Also, you said Royal Rumble, and I can't think of Gundams wrestling each other.
I mean, if you want that, you can just fire up G Gundam.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah, there's a horse in that. There's a horse Gundam in.
Oh,
Jamal, there's a horse Gundam in there.
I really gotta watch G Gundam at some point.
I forgot about that.
I'm pretty sure our friend Getter would be more than willing to sit and watch G Gundam.
I think he was the one that posted that in the Discord.
No, yes, probably. That man lives, breathes, eats, and shits Gundam. Love you, buddy. But, like, she's just going wild, and I remember it's like her egging Suletta on to commit murder, and just Megan's like, it's like watching a dog continuously go after a steak. Or more like an African wild dog, because those are technically, like, some of the most vicious hunters in the world. Where, like, she's just gonna keep on attacking until she gets what she wants. And I really like Megan's, like, performance in that, where it's, like, it's still teenage girl, but it's also, like, when she gets a hold of you, she's gonna carve out your kidney.
Yeah, and I think probably the turning point that got me was when she gets Yuffie at the end of the Rumble Ring by Kadachi's gun. And Ellen is just crying out in horror, so.
Yeah, I did feel really bad for her there.
Cause also, like, go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, I'm really sad she died. Heck of an artist, though.
Yeah, it's like she was finally starting to open up. Finally started to become started to feel human again, and then, bam! It's all taken away from her.
And then she was given the chance to murder.
To which for a Gundam, there aren't too many. For a Gundam, there aren't too many moments that are like. I feel like with a lot of Gundam stuff, you get an occasional thing that's supposed to be really serious, but in execution, it's extremely funny. And I feel like there isn't too much of this compared to, like, the other Gundams I've seen. But I do appreciate just the moment of, like, you get Chidi going, like, okay, well, you know what? I think we need to stir up some things, so he, like... so he finally decides to, let Orion run loose, and it just immediately bolts out.
Yep!
As soon as the doors open, just...
Bye! It's time to go! Beep, beep!
Yeah, that was incredible.
Yeah, and I like Emmy's performance, too. Just, like, the pain and hollowness of somebody who's forced to see all these atrocities.
Yeah.
And the only way she sees a way out is not through something like the art that she draws, but rather through immense violence.
Noria's the one that draws the art. Sophie's the one that's a little childish and wants to let her be a big sister.
And has all the stuffed animals.
Yeah.
Yep.
She brought them all to school with her.
That was cute and also kind of sad in a way.
Yeah.
Sophie's a little on the crazy side, but all she wanted was a family.
Yeah.
It's not her fault. It's not her fault. Everyone is basically committing war crimes.
Welcome to the War Crimes Academy.
I ain't gonna lie to you. Emmy's performance kind of gave me Red of Yugu vibes.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's like, oh my god, is this girl obsessive? Then you understand why, and then next thing you know, she just she just pushes herself to the edge, and her body can't take no more, and she's dead.
To which, on that note, given the rather heavy tone of violence of the show, when just like the way the character was introduced, she was actually much less of a yandere than I was expecting her to be. Yeah, she is a little bit, but not like as much as you probably would have expected for something like this.
Yeah.
It's more, she wanted to be like big sister. It's like, yeah, you know what, good for you.
And then just like just poor Emmy's character. Like, I really liked her performance as Noria.
Sophie.
I'm sorry. Because it is so, like, it's just so full of pain and sorrow, and it's also somewhat childish, but it's also, like, she's just the idea. I think at one point she goes, I don't want to live in a world without Sophie.
Yeah, I do remember that bit. That was pretty depressing.
Yeah.
But I like these two performances a lot. I thought both really got the right tone they needed for those characters. Just a bunch of kids with really terrible circumstances, and try to do their best to, if not necessarily, deal with their circumstances. Seek some sort of vengeance, which might not necessarily be the correct way to go about things, but is definitely a path that's at least understandable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You guys good to move on to the next section?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Alright, so from people who want to murder to the people allowing school fight club to happen. The dueling committee. These are basically they're like the kids of the four major houses that are at the top of the megacorps. They run a committee in which students can say, hey, that guy looked at me funny. I'm gonna fight him with my mobile suit for something. And they're like, well, put your shit on the table and you guys can you guys can just deathmatch it out until one of you wins and one of you loses. But more importantly, the dueling committee system is what was set up by Minore's father to essentially determine who was going to marry her when she comes of age. And of course, Minore hates this, because how dare she have agency in her life?
Oh, now I get the reference.
If you see new to them, this is really just a student council new to them.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Like not even the jokes, it's like almost the exact same archetypes as across the board. It's amazing.
Yeah. So, and essentially the dueling committee, a lot of the heads also fight over who's interested in our wonderful lesbians. The collective answer of, none of you get them, go fuck yourselves. except for 2 of them. Well, 3 of them. 3 of them don't particularly care. So first up, we have Gruel Jeturk. He is the original ace hotshot prideful bad boy of the school. He ends up getting his ass beat in the first episode because he kept being mean to Minore, and Suletta told him to apologize. And from there, Gruel Jeturk's world kind of sucks for a long time until the ending.
Yep. And in terms of
bit.
Center references, this character's basically we have COD at home.
Gruel Jeturk also has another name, and that is Bob the Builder. Can he fix it? No, he can't.
I just call him the 3rd main character, so.
Yeah, he kind of is.
Wait till we meet.
Then we also have his... Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, wait till we meet the 4th main character.
Then we have Gruel's little brother, Lauda. Nelly. Lauda, essentially, his entire character is, what would my big brother do? He is kind of Gruel's shadow and his biggest supporter until he learns that Gruel, accidentally murked their dad, and then he decides to try to get back at him instead of fucking helping when they needed him to, and fighting him in space only to get shot by the little Chihuahua girl in Gruel's house played by Alexis Sipton, who helps them. Lauda is the other character who actually gets canonically with somebody by the end of the show. So good job, Lauda!
Good for you, buddy.
Then we have the 4th main character, Shadiq Zanelli. Shadiq is the adopted son of Saris, who has risen to basically be his right-hand man in the Zanelli Corporation. Except for that Shadiq is playing, Saris is playing checkers, Shadiq is playing 5D chess.
I would say this character is the Akio of this show, and he kind of comes close, but instead of being like the physical embodiment of the male patriarchy, he's just kind of a guy who's trying his best to, think he can get ahead with gaming everyone, but there are more powerful adults in the room. So,
yeah, and it's very clear that he is also in love with Minore and more in rivals with Gruel in that sense, because he thinks that Gruel will defile Minore. Except for and I will say the other thing, the difference between Shadiq and Akio is that if they ever make a movie of Gundam, The Witcher Mercury, I do not think that Shadiq will fall out of off a window balcony in comical fashion.
See, you said 4th main character. I was thinking more Duda or one of the antagonists.
Jet knows the exact thing that I'm talking about.
I've seen the it's been a while since I've seen the intended movie, and I remember the TV series more, but falling off the roof was a thing.
Yeah, he falls off the balcony and dies in the movie. Next up, we have my favorite characters. The collective of our okay. I hate that Sunrise decided to make me a entire character based off of just know it. Ellen. There are 3 of him. Yeah. And each of 3 have a personality. He is an altered person for the Pell Corporation to try to research Gundam and stuff. The first one really likes Suletta, and ironically, he died the week before my birthday when the show aired.
Yes, he is the evil one.
Yeah. Everybody I know kept making happy birthday jokes at me for a week because of that. Because I was pissed. Then there is Elon 5. He's a slut.
Yep, he is the slutty one.
And then there's Elon, the real one, who is just kind of a bitch. That's all I can call him. Then we have the 2 members of the dueling committee who have no connections to a lot of things and are just there to be the peanut gallery. We have Cecilia Dote and Roji Kshante. Cecilia is the girl who I think everybody kind of made the waifu of G-Witch, unfortunately.
That's why I said the 4th main character, because there's somehow a lot of fan art of her.
Yeah. She is very much kind of this sarcastic observer type, as well as Roji, who is a quiet, quiet boy who kind of watches and downloads everything. He also has a Haru voiced by Jerry Jewell. Playing Gruel is Bradley Gareth. Playing Lauda is Nazish Tarsha. Playing Shadiq is Alejandra Saab. Playing the Elons is Ellens is Aaron Dismuke. Playing Celica is Cassie Uelu. And playing Roji is Kristen Payne. Who? Bradley Gareth, you'll know as Jubei Aryu in Blue Lock. Nazish Tarsha is Jude in The Saint's Magic Power is Omnipotent. Alejandro Saab is Scorpio Milo in Saint Seiya. Aaron Dismuke is Reinhard von Lohengramm in Legends of the Galactic Heroes Denua Tesse, Crunchyroll Dub Season 4. Cassie Uelu is Agnes Mille Morton in Sweet Reincarnation. And Kristen Payne is young Mikazuki Shinonome in Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer. I'm sorry I brought that one up, Jet.
It's alright, because I just realized something that is, well, not necessarily encouraged, but kind of like, wow, I'm sort of surprised we piece that together. Because I was thinking about this, these characters in terms of like who's the references, and I was like, it's kind of weird that this show doesn't have anatomy. Like, it feels like it needs anatomy. And then I sat there for a second, I'm like, oh wait, that's basically what Hulan is. I mean, he obsesses over his brother. That's basically Nanami's entire character.
Yep.
All he needs is a pet mouse or something, and he's Nanami.
A pet mouse in an awkward bathtub.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that he turns can do whatever Joe's have a laugh. Just let him.
Just let Menno Joe-sama laugh.
But to say, I really did. I did like Niji's performance here. I thought he did a pretty good job playing this very dribble boy who's, trying to do his best to, I guess, kind of live up to. I'm saying live up to the legacy of his big brother. Kind of feels like it's exaggerated because, as he firmly said, was cool. Finn's the entirety first half of the show kind of failing constantly. So I guess it's less looking up to Goel and more just, I guess, trying to keep him from falling further. Which it doesn't necessarily take, but he does try. And then I did appreciate the performance during like the back half of the show where he's just clearly trying to keep everything together while both his business and his family's kind of falling apart, and you can very clearly tell the characters extremely stressed out a lot of the time, and that comes across very well in his performance. And then when he finally stops towards the last couple of episodes, I thought the delivery there was really good. And on the whole, that was a pretty fun performance.
Jamal?
Yeah, I thought Nazi did very well as Lauda. Lauda, for as much screen time as he could get, he was very kind of stood. He was very assuming until the last few episodes. You could definitely see like the portrayal of his hatred like towards Selena and stuff, because it drove his brother out of his life for a moment. It's like it's gonna take him a while for like him to get over it, but like when he and Gould get out, it's like he realizes that not everything is his to bear. Like Gould did some stuff wrong in his life that even he should have told for, and Lada just wants to be by his side. And also, I find it funny there's a character named Lada and Brittany somewhere else in the show. So
yep, she's one of I think she's one of Shadiq's.
Yeah, she is. She's one of Shadiq's.
Yeah, one of Shadiq's angels.
But yeah, that was a pretty good performance.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just wish he had maybe a little more screen time compared to. I say compared to the others, and Cecilia's only had about 7 minutes.
Yeah, I feel like Cecilia and Roji could kind of talk about together, but I do appreciate that everyone spent the entirety of the series joking that Cecilia really just spent 90% of the series just on that couch, not doing anything. Bless her heart.
Yeah, and yet, oh no, she does spend at least one other time doing something, and that is making a confession bait ball for poor
Martin.
Martin. Yeah, she kind of fucks over. She kind of makes the confession bait Haro.
But yeah, I do like Cassidy's performance. She has a pretty good amount of start to her, and so like even if the character really is just kind of not doing too much, but just kind of sarking the background, it's a fun performance, and I do kind of appreciate the kind of back and forth she gets to have with like the Gundam kids towards the end of the show. I thought that was pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Rosie comparatively is also just kind of there, and I kind of remember Jerry Jewell playing Nehara a little bit more than him, but like, you know what? He was fine. I thought he was fine. I thought he had a pretty good back and forth with some of the other characters too, I think. But I think also kind of with the Gundam kids a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cassie is Cecilia, like I said, not there all that much, but somehow she's a very memorable character in more ways than one. I'm just gonna try to keep it as PG-13 as I can. I will say this though, because of course you all know Cassie has another name. Mm-hmm. She's Sapphire on YouTube, and she just put out a cover recently of the second ending to Witch from Mercury. And
yeah, it's really good.
Yep.
I really gotta check out one of these days because Red Birthmark seems to be proving my favorite song overall.
Oh yeah, no, Red Birthmark is by far like the best ED song of the year.
Which, by the way, I learned that apparently TK did the composition, and at one point, there was some point in the climax, it sounded like Tokyo Ghoul. I kid you not.
You know what? That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, my other fun fact about Red Birthmark is that the singer who sings it, Aina The End, was actually in a Japanese version of the Broadway musical about Janis Joplin as Janis Joplin.
What?
Yep.
Wow. But yeah, as I was saying, Cassie's memorable in more ways than one. I wish I could say the same about Kristen Payne's Roji, but I hope we do get to hear more of her. Jerry Jewell as the Sunrise logo. I mean, they gotta name drop Sunrise somewhere in this show.
I mean, hey, you can't have a Gundam without at least one Haru in there somewhere.
What's even funnier is they name dropped Yoasobi, from the first opening, and it's somehow a name on one of the Gundams at the that party.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Oh, I'm surprised they stuck the Yoasobi reference in there. I'm sorry, we're talking about Jerry Jewell as the Haros, and then he's all of the Haros, including the Haros with guns that are trying to kill them.
Yep.
And the last thing, and the thing that I can just say here is Jerry Jewell's customer service Haro voice going, "Do not resist." Oh God.
Incredible.
Who's next on the dueling roulette?
By the way, we should just go over the three you learned and get it over with.
Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil.
Trying to think of. I feel like they probably go with Elon Prime first because he kind of.
I didn't talk about the other two yet, so.
Sorry.
Oh no, it's okay. Oh, it's okay. It's all good. No, I liked the Zetius Lauda. I'm glad that he got to do this and to show his chops, especially at the end, and all of the misguided anger and vitriol at Gruel for killing their dad. I thought Lauda just kind of very much sat in the background for a majority of the show until the end. Cassie and Kristen, I liked Cassie's performance. I thought Kristen was a little more shaky. I think Roji's a guy.
Yeah, I think so.
And it sounded a little bit too feminine for me, but I would say kind of out of the dueling committee, they are kind of the weakest link. But now we can talk about the collective of my specially designed twink.
Yeah, but I feel like you could probably do Lon Prime first, because he kind of has the least to do out of the three. It's mostly just there in the background talking with, like, the pale pretties, mostly.
I do like when he quits.
That was pretty funny. It is kind of funny thinking that it feels weird saying he gets away with everything scot-free, because if you really think about it, it's not like he really did much of anything one way or the other. But it's kind of funny to just sort of noped out towards the end.
He's just like, bye! Oh no! And then he ends up as Gruel's co-runner of the school. And Gruel's like, why are you even here? Why do I suffer?
Yeah. This dude is pretty smug, and I do think Aaron did a pretty good job of getting that across. This guy just clearly can't be bothered to do anything himself until he has to.
Yeah. It's like, why get my hands dirty when other people can do it for me?
Why dig when I can handle why handle a shovel when I can sit in the office? It's just like such a fucking piece of shit too, and Aaron does a good job of that.
And then inversely, you have the quiet one who is just...
My baby boy.
You feel so bad for him.
He is the reason why I bought my first Gundam model kit, which I still have not put together.
I have a Barbatos model kit sitting around somewhere. I got like halfway through finishing it, and I think I lost a piece, and it's just sitting there.
Yeah, I have a Ferract, an Ariel, and a Double X.
Nice.
I want you to know that a lot of my friends on another server like to make fun of me because of my love of Ellen 4. Like, to the point where if I talk about him and I get upset, they all like to tease me by going, happy birthday.
Which, I'm not gonna lie, as soon as you said that, I knew exactly what episode you were on.
Not again!
That's it, man. If I had a nickel for every time someone died to the song "Happy Birthday," I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't much, but it's weird it happened twice in this show.
That ain't the first.
Yeah.
It's the first nickel joke, but it's gonna be more tonight.
A Gundam? Parry the Gundam!
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I understood.
I had to.
I understood that. I saw somebody do that with a guitar.
A mobile suit? Ariel the mobile suit? Sorry.
You're good.
Yeah. Fuck you, show. Every time I get upset.
Let me see. I'm pretty sure I have notes for him somewhere. Let's see. I really did like how Aaron handled Emo and Led's whole dynamic with Suwada. I also like how much resentment he's kind of hiding under how Luffy acts towards the beginning of the show, and basically a lot of the time in general. And I thought he did a pretty good job of handling that really well. And then I especially like towards the end of his duel with Suwada, where he kind of admits of how jealous he is of her, that she seems to have everything he doesn't. And that kind of makes him to snap, causes him to snap, and I thought Aaron's delivery there was extremely good. And, it really made me feel for the poor guy, which, again, made it sad when, the Happy Birthday music kicked in.
Yeah, what looked like a giant incinerator about to fire. All while Solena's waiting for him to show up on time. I was like, yeah, he ain't coming in.
To which it is kind of funny. This is the second Sunrise show I've seen where there was a character waiting on a bench for somebody who already died.
Where's the first?
Oh no!
That would be season 1 of Tiger and Bunny.
Oh, Tiger!
Oh.
Shit!
Jamal, what were you thinking of?
Code Geass. But
Wait, did that happen in Code Geass?
No, but I did make that Euphemia reference with Noria. Because
yeah, that's fair. Man, Lelouch wouldn't last a day in this show.
Oh, absolutely not.
No, I really liked Aaron in that you can all tell like they sound like the same person, but I think Aaron does a good job differentiating each of the personalities. Because there is a complete difference between sad boy Aaron and absolute fuckboy Aaron.
I haven't even talked about that last one, but it's so delightfully stormy. You really want to punch that kid in the face.
Mm-hmm.
Girl almost did. Because he wouldn't stop trying to ask Suletta out on a date.
I was like, at first you think, okay, this guy's just being extremely pushy and it's kind of annoying. Yeah. And then you see him pull out the taser, it's like, oh no. Yeah, definitely glad he got at least one punch in the face.
Yeah.
And then but I think the meanest thing is that, like, the show actually made me feel bad for him after that, and that makes me angry. It's like how dare you give him it. It's like, how dare you make me feel bad for circumstances that he's just kind of, trying to do his best to survive in capitalism.
Jet, how dare you make me feel things for him? I also want to talk about the underrated comedic aspect of Slut Elin. Like, they put him into a lot of really weird comedy moments, like, where he's listening in on the Earth House outside the vent. And he's just, like, eating, like, a fucking granola bar, like, well, they're not gonna let me in.
I think my favorite kind of, like, technically serious, but also just extremely funny thing is just, like, how much he just absolutely refuses to get into Gundam.
Yeah, it's like, I ain't going back in there. I learned what happened to the last me. Well, granted, he does go into Ariel and then tries to go deeper, and then he meets the other collective inside of Ariel.
And then he's like, nope, not ever again.
Nope, bye guys, see ya. Nope, not again. Jamal, your thoughts?
Ellen 4, yeah. Ellen 4 is, Ellen did a very good job as emo Ellen because, like, he just tried to get the Obama things without somehow coming off too suspicious to Suletta. But, yeah, after meeting the other collective, it's like, I would say his personality kind of changed, but then we all know what happened next. And then Ellen 5... I don't know, because Ellen 5 seems more like the real Ellen with I guess a dash of Ellen 4 just to be safe. And even though I thought both of them were assholes, at least one learned to develop a more caring side later on, especially with the whole thing between him and Noria. To which at the end of the episode, he's just trying to find this location she drew in her book, and she's like, why did you just put down coordinates or something? I'm like, dude, it's not a real place she drew. It's just some place to get her away from her thoughts, man.
Yeah, dude, I'm really kind of impressed that that really all they did was lock those characters in a room for, like, maybe 2 or 3 episodes. And that somehow was enough to make me feel bad. I was like, no, they should have been able to run away together. It's so sad.
Right.
Okay, I'm kind of confused on what actually happened there, because did they get captured, or...?
No, she's dead.
No, I think he's talking about why they were all in a room together. Basically, Doria was hiding out there because, terrorism. And Sonny had to hide out there because he screwed up trying to steal the Ariel, and he was hiding. Yeah, all the Pale Crows wanted him dead, so he had to hide out for a bit.
But why was Nika in there?
Oh, because she was basically being held captive. She was being held captive by Shadiq's gang.
Yeah, and she was also, wanted for terrorism, so...
Oh, yeah, I know that. We'll get to that later. So, and yeah, Ellen Prime was basically just a dick, just hang back to watch events unfold, and then when things started blowing up, he just said, "Fuck this shit, I'm out." And that was that. I ain't got much more to say about Aaron, or Aaron, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, I have one more thing to say about Ellen. How dare Ellen 5 get hotter after the time skip?
That is extremely mean.
Well, you know, that's what happens when you kind of put a smile on your face a little. Because remember, Ellen Emo was kind of flat, just deadpan. His face, I mean.
He was dead inside. And
yeah.
He was dead inside and then became dead outside.
Yep.
Alright, so do we want to talk about Shadiq or Gruel next?
Yes.
I feel like Goel is technically more important, so we should probably do Shadiq first.
Yeah.
So, going into Alejandro as Shadiq, when I was talking before with the direction about character voices and how I felt like it was maybe an attempt to make characters sound distinct, and how I felt that could be a little bit of a mixed bag in some places, this was one of them. In that this took a couple of episodes, I felt to kind of get into its groove, I think. This is definitely a much deeper voice than I'm used to in Alejandro, and it's what's kind of it's kind of weird, both because I know he can do teen voices in general, and it's a lot deeper than the usual teen voice he does. And also, the character in Japanese does not sound like this. It's higher pitch in Japanese, so I'm not sure what the decision was to make this character sound deeper in English. I wouldn't call it a bad choice. It's just kind of a little bit of an odd one. But that is that. And I do think I wouldn't necessarily say it hurt the performance. I do think it kind of took Alejandro a little bit to kind of find his groove with the voice and get into, I guess, kind of match what he wanted to go for with the performance. But after like an episode or two, I thought he nailed it, and I like the performance. It's the right amount of smugness and being incredibly calculating. The guy who's just kind of very clearly trying to get an edge on everyone else and always stay one step ahead of everyone, and Alejandro gets that across really well. Especially when it comes to characters like, Goel or dealing with your old dad. And Alejandro just gives Shadiq an air of confidence in nearly everything he does. And I also thought his dynamic with Miorine was really interesting. And as you mentioned before, it's very clear that he was in love with Miorine, but he wasn't, willing to actually fight for her because he's not a very trusting person, and I guess. I guess the combination of he didn't really trust himself to be able to, do the right thing there, and I guess he wasn't really willing to take the risk, and very clear that ship sailed, and he's still incredibly salty about that, and Alejandro gets that across really well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really well-rounded performance, especially during his final showdown with Goel, where you see the character finally snap, and Alejandro does a really good job of getting all that anger across. It's a really well-rounded performance, and on a whole, it's very solid.
Mm-hmm. So for me, I think the thing about Shadiq that I had kind of, I guess, apprehension about was that it's like you said, it's a lot of a more deeper take on the character. And first of all, I want to say, I think this is a great performance, but for a lot of the show, I just didn't know if it was the right performance for the show itself. I definitely want to get to see Alejandro play a character that an adult male character, which I bet he's probably played a ton of, and I'm just not thinking of them at this moment.
If you ever play Octopath Traveler 2, he is one of the protagonists in that, I believe.
I have to beat Octopath 1!
Good luck with that. I tried being Octopath 1. I could not get past the final boss. It is, actively ridiculous.
Obviously I need to get more experience with that, and this is my also cue of saying, hey, directors, try him out as these characters more. But I think the reason that they probably went for this is that I think a lot of the show's themes is like the difference between children and adults, in the sense of adults acting childish and children acting like adults, and Shadiq very much feels like the most mature of the school age kids. And that's because he has to be. He's being like, he's been groomed, and he's also groomed himself and closed off his heart emotionally. And I think the moments that really shine for this is a lot of Alejandro's work regarding how Shadiq does feel for Minare. How he is in love with her, and like you mentioned, and Minare says that Shadiq could never actually love her because he wouldn't trust her. But I think Shadiq also falls into the general thing of the men pursuing Minare. Is that all of them see everybody who kind of interacts with Minare besides Suletta sees Minare as a tool or an object for their gain, and not Minare as a person. And I think what really sells that is how aggressive he gets towards Gruel in the back half of season 2, where he talks about how Gruel's defiled her, how he's going to dirty and ruin Minare, when in truth it's Shadiq doesn't want to see her as if she is a person who can make her own mistakes, and is a person who can learn and grow from her own experiences and her own mistakes, because he feels like he can guide and manipulate her into his own place, because he sees himself as this chess master. When in truth, the person who ultimately defiled her and ruined her plans at the meeting where Prospera's got control of Ariel and causes the fight so that the whole Earth meeting blows up, is because he fucked around with Dawnfold. And Dawnfold caused the stuff at the, not Quiet Zero, but,
the Rumble Ring?
No, not the Rumble. Besides the Rumble Ring, there's another part.
Oh, Plant Quetta.
Yeah, Plant Quetta. Yeah, he kind of fucks up Plant Quetta. He kind of causes all these stuff in the background, therefore he thinks he's protecting Minare, and he has that very much attitude towards it, and that he's the only one who can do it. But in truth, he is secretly just, like, stabbing the daggers into her back, and he doesn't want to take responsibility of it, until, of course, the very end, where he finally gets defeated and gives up. And he's the only one who goes to, besides Nika, who really kind of faces the consequences for what he's done. And I think that Alejandro gets a lot of that across in the character, and I think that's where he shines. I don't know if I agree with how deep he goes, but I'm also not going to say, like, a teenager can't sound that deep, because obviously there are teenagers who do.
Yeah, and I think to add to that point, I think that was one of the reasons his voice went that deep, because given the character's build, the way he dresses, the way he comes off, it's like he exudes a bit an air of confidence, and it also led me to think, yeah, you're up to something, aren't you? It's kind of like, were you on the episode for Erased?
Yep.
I was not.
You were not?
Wait, I was on Erased.
I wasn't, you were.
Okay.
I thought it was asking. I thought it was asking me that.
Okay,
Sorry.
I think I remember how you explained how y'all found out who the bad guy was. It was kind of similar in that circumstance with the voice. And I wanted to wait and see what his endgame was, endgame in quotation marks, before I knew he could take it further. There was the first point being that he cock-blocked Reed from starting up her own company by changing the regulations.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was, I don't know, he blackmailed her. He did something with Nika that she was the go-between between the witches from Earth and the Dawn of Fold.
Yeah, he used her good nature.
And then, of course, he got kidnapping his father. And then he explains in the, I guess, essentially the final duel between him and Ghoul that he says that the school is basically just grounds for sacrifice, like they're sacrificing the students or something, and he wants to dissolve the Bedouin group because of that. Well, one of the reasons. So yeah, so if he had come off with like what people would identify as like a normal teenage voice, that would kind of thrown me off a bit. It's like, okay, how do we what's the word? How do we project this guy's motivations without actually giving it away? Like I said, you gotta look at the character. So it would only make sense to give him that kind of deep of a voice, not too deep, because like you said, he has a maturity to him, especially when you see him at that party, like dressed differently. So he knows.
Yeah, he cleans up really well, by the way.
So he knows what's going on. He knows what he wants. He knows how to get it. Of course, the reasons for getting it, I guess, were very different from person to person on this podcast. Because it did seem like he was in love with Mercury, but he would never be able to accomplish that goal. Just, I guess, unrequited love, that kind of thing. But again, there's always more to it than that. It's whether his livelihood, somebody else's. I guess do bad things to save good people. I guess, I don't know. That's just the way I prefer to look at it in terms of the voice. So, and yeah, you're right. There are some teenagers with that kind of deep of a voice. I've had a few of them in high school. So, sorry, you were saying, Jeff?
No, that's a fair point. I just think it was kind of maybe a little off-putting for me for a little bit.
I understand. I mean,
I think it took the longest to adjust to. I think because
I got through it just fine. So
I think Megan got into the nail on the head. It was something I needed to adjust to. I feel like once I kind of got an idea of where it was good, what Alejandro was going for, I warmed up to the performance, but it did take me an episode or two.
I personally took the longest to warm up to it. So
I was the quickest then. So because I was actually familiar with that kind of voice Alejandro Top uses, but I'd rather not say what show though.
all right, so let's talk about Bob the Builder.
Okay.
Oh, Gruel. I think that this is probably some of my favorite work that Bradley Gareth has done. I think he was exceptional from the get-go as Gruel. He had all of the level of arrogance and pomp that had to get broken down to his core. Because, Gruel, not only does Gruel fail, Gruel is also taken away from all of the privilege that he knows. He can't fight in his own mobile suit. His father tries to put an AI in to help him because he doesn't believe in him anymore.
Well, Daddy just wants to win the fight.
Yeah. He just gets taken down to lower, he lives as a homeless person on campus for a while, to the point where other students are dumping water on his head. And then he gets forced to work as a construction worker, and he gets kidnapped by the Dawnfold, and it kind of really culminates in the lowest of the low point for him being in the episode where he sees a child get killed in his arms.
Yep.
And Bradley just carries a lot of this performance with such grace. And when you see him chained up to a toilet and babbling...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're just like, this is really good stuff. And I think that it's just very, very, very great work.
Very.
I also like the performance a lot. I think he did a really good job of coming off as a bit of an arrogant meathead in the first couple of episodes, and just very deeply insecure of what Daddy thinks of him. And I thought Bradley did a really good job of getting that across really well. And also speaking of the early parts of the performance, I really liked his delivery during his soul bearers proposal to Soletta, and like how much sincerity you could feel in his voice as Goel was having like a bit of an internal epiphany, which made it all the funnier when he just got rejected in like the looniest way possible.
Yeah. Yeah. But his whole character off from start to finish was incredible, because it's basically what happens when you take the shelter out the sheltered kid, and he had to understand reality very, very hard, like very hard, like. So I was impressed when Guel came into his own, especially having 3 duels against Soletta already.
Yep.
He loses 3 duels overall.
To which there is one thing about the character I must criticize, and it's something I saw come up on Aina's podcast numerous times.
Oh god.
Man, that haircut was a downgrade.
I actually thought his haircut made him look hotter.
I've seen some good haircuts. That one's pretty decent. So.
I'm sorry, the butt looks a lot better to me.
I'm still trying to get used to the 2-tone bangs, but I've seen crazier hair.
Can't believe Jet just shamed me for my disappreciation of the mullet. The Jet Turk family mullet. Oh, maybe.
What?
I just had such the stupidest thought.
Boy, what is it?
Maybe Quell gave himself a mullet so he'd look more like his family company's logo of a lion.
That's great.
Is Corral Jeturk a furry?
I mean, we know he's into Tanuki, so who knows?
Jamal, please keep going before I die.
Yeah, it's weird. The funniest thought I had was that Parkour's name was a play on jet fuel. So that's just me. I think.
But yeah, Bradley's performance was really well rounded. Really, like I said, that whole thing was pretty funny. And that he could be serious. A lot of the time when he needed a rise, especially in the back half of the show, and as mentioned before in the aforementioned episode, where where he's at the Earth camp and he's kind of so traumatized from his dad dying and trying to process all that while seeing a child die in front of his eyes and watching all these Earthrians get terrorized by the company he used to be a part of, which is definitely not helping his trauma a whole lot there.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely interesting seeing how the character transformed after that. And I thought Girl had the most interesting character evolution throughout the entire show, and I ended up liking the character more than I thought I would.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess to wrap this section up, I haven't listened to a lot of Bradley Gareth roles. I think the only context I have for this one is Gunbuster, which I have yet to finish, and somehow I own the Blu-ray for it, so...
yeah, you should finish that. The Gunbuster dub is good.
Yeah.
It really is weird. It really was weird watching Gunbuster with knowledge of like Evangelion and like Girdle God. It's like, oh wow, I can really just see the template for all those things now.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Alright. So let's go on to the Gundam, aka the Earth House. These are essentially Suletta and Minori's greatest allies, a bunch of kids from Earth who deal with a lot of racism, classism, and everything thrown in their way. And they come together to form the new Gundam Corporation, showing that the Gundams aren't dangerous. But a lot of times they end up getting almost accidentally murdered or put into terrible situations and have to save the world together, and some of them aren't always always the best and brightest in the group, but they're doing their fucking best. They start off with Chitare Ponluch, aka Chichu. She is in charge, will punch a bitch, and is by far the most vocal and outspoken about the harassment and racism they face. She calls a lot of people spacey and turds, but when push comes to shove, she's willing to put down her own pride and save people and do whatever's right. Nika Nanora is a genius mechanical and support student. However, she is also a go-between for the Dawnfold and Shadiq, which is basically playing on her own good nature for wanting to see Earth and Spacians come together to build a brighter future. She spends a lot of the second half of the show questioning what she's done. And like Shadiq, she's kind of the only person who actually, faces consequences for her actions. Then there is Martin Upman. He is the head of the Earth House. He is kind of, as much as he tries to be in charge, he's kind of a walking doormat.
Yeah.
He's doing his best, but he also harbors a lot of guilt towards actions to the end of Season 1 into Season 2, in that he reports that Nika had contact with the Dawnfold, and that's why she runs away and disappears. Nuno Carrigan is kind of one of the mechanic guys in Earth House. Olejo Gabel is another one of the mechanics. He's also the guy who is almost always with Nuno, putting bets on everything. He is always betting on the duels. Lalik Kodaka Lipati is kind of the VP/secretary of the gun formation. She's a big girl who apparently just pulls them.
I love that as a bit. I love that as a bit of a background for a character. Like, she gets guys all the time, and you know what? Good for her. She deserves it.
Yeah, and to the point where she doesn't even realize that they're doing it, so we stand a queen. Till Nice is the kind of blue-haired guy with the ponytail. He is another quiet member of the gun arm group. And Alaya Manvish is the girl who does all of the fortune telling and helps mainly take care of all of the animals they have at Earth House. And quote unquote, at one point wrote an animal care manual that was more in detail than a mobile suit manual.
What'd you do?
What a gal. Playing Choo Choo is Brittany Karbowski. Playing Nika is Bryn April. Playing Martin is Matt Shipman. Matt Shipman. Playing Nanao is Eric Vale. Playing Oello is Corey Wilder. Playing Lalik is Sarah Ragsdale. Playing Till is Monty Thompson. And playing Aaliyah is E.A. Castillo. Brittany Karbowski you'll know as a lot of things, but I think most importantly to this role, she is the many, many Mikoto Mikasas in the Railgun franchise.
Yep.
Bryn April is Unit Low as characters such as Hiyori Iki in Noragami. Matt Shipman you'll know as Mihai in Kimono Jihen. Eric Vale you'll know as Yuki Soma in Fruits Basket. Corey Wilder is Chitaro Fuwake in Ayaka. Sarah Ragsdale is Yuki Minagawa in Suridure Children. Monty Thompson as Floria Blaze in The Fruit of Evolution. And E.A. Castillo as Minato Fujiwara in Katana Maiden's Toji no Miko. Whew! Whew. Oh boy, that's a lot.
Yep.
Yeah. I feel like you can probably get through some of these pretty quick, because I mean, some of the Gundam kids have more to do than others, for better or worse.
Mm-hmm.
So, going down the list, I thought Monty and EA did fine for their characters. They didn't get too much to do compared to everyone else, but I thought they added to the background pretty well. I didn't like the whole Ouija board thing with Selena. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. I would say it's about Aya, because Alia sounded great for what Lil had the character had to do. I mean, she definitely sounded caring, especially with the animals. And I look at the cast and I'm like, Castillo, why does that name sound familiar? I looked it up. Megan, how much do you remember Komodo Friends?
A lot.
That's the North American beef.
Plus them.
Yeah, so whenever I can see the emotion on Ali's face, I think of that one blooper. It's like, it's okay, Dirt. I'm lonely too.
Oh, I'm lonely too.
Except instead, the Dirt are sick of the goat. Which, man, if you ever need a reason to give Spaceman Hardy to watch this show. Yeah. Okay, Monty. I'm not too familiar with him. I only know he had like a role in Zombieland Saga Revenge, and that was the first role he did. I haven't heard much. I didn't even see that show, to be honest, but I know from what I heard here, he did pretty good, pretty okay for what the role called. I can't help but how many times his ponytail looked like the leaves on a pineapple, but that's just me.
Oh yeah, his hair did look like pineapple.
Yeah. And somehow that's not the craziest here in this group.
Boy, we'll get to that in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I got to say on those two. So, what about you, Megan?
We're talking about
Till and Alia.
Till. Yeah, Till I don't have a ton on. I think Monty does a good job making Till just sound very even keel and like he is a member of the house. Unfortunately, Till doesn't do as much. I liked EA as Alia a lot. I think she very much has that calmy, more nurturing tone to her voice. She definitely sounds like the most adult member of the house outside of maybe Nika. Because let's face it, outside of Tills and Alia, the rest of the house is kind of childish. Like, a lot of them are Alia is very much the one that kind of, I think, notices the most about people too. She does do the fortune telling and all that stuff, and I genuinely enjoyed their performance. Jet, did you go with these two?
Yep.
I'll move on to, I guess, Lalique, Oello, and Nanao. I would like to once again appreciate, as somebody who is a bigger bodied girl, that Sarah Ragsdale did not give Lalique the fat person voice.
Yeah, that's very good.
Everybody's probably like, what do you mean? I mean, it's like making them sound like, you know what the comedic fat person voice sounds like. Like, trust me, you've seen it. It's gross. I think Sarah Ragsdale has Lalique's very bright and cheery demeanor. And, like, Lalique is also kind of the emotional figurehead of the things. Like, when Lalique is upset, they're all like, oh shit, something's actually fucking wrong.
Yep.
Like, they're all like, uh-oh.
Yeah, but I do appreciate that she kind of comes off as being sort of the mom of the group, and Sarah gets on the girls really well.
Yeah, and I also genuinely, again, appreciate that this is just you, which is a whole show, that they never use Lalique's weight as a point to make her, like, be made fun of or seem down on. She is quite literally still capable of being a pilot and an engineer and stuff, and I genuinely like how she's okay going with the team match against Shadiq, because... Yeah. Because some girls, like, she's like, okay, if you're upset at me for some reason, okay, sure, why not?
To which, it is something I've seen brought up by other people, but I do appreciate that there are, like, several bigger characters in this show who are just kind of, like, you know, it's never really pointed to, and I think that's really appreciated.
Yeah.
Yes. I also like how she's the only one besides Suletta who's completely okay with doing this match. The guys are like, oh god, we're gonna fucking die! And she's like, yay! Eric and Corey have great chemistry with each other as those two guys.
Yeah, those are a lot of fun together.
Yeah.
Just them sports betting on teenage Gundam fighting.
Yep, constant betting and more later just always loses.
Yep.
Wait, which one of them is betting again? Oh, Jello, right?
Yep. Yep. So it's I do appreciate that he's the one who's like the most reluctant to get in a Gundam, and it's like the first one who does that. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, Corey Wada, they're very good as a cello, because you always see this type of character often in anime, especially one who's prone to losing bets, betting against your own teammate, too. It's just like, come on, dude, you know the odds are on this. Why would you go against them? Instead of Axe, though, I can always pick her out in anime because she has this sing-songy type of quality to her voice. Like, it's not like she's doing it on purpose. It just comes naturally when she's acting. Like, kind of musically, if you think about it. Ericville, I don't hear Ericville often this type of anime anymore, but I did appreciate him playing I guess a student. A student that's not actually perverted for once, because the last time I heard him as a student, I'd rather not talk about that show, but at least he can dial down the normalcy on the roles he plays. Because I saw him at a convention this summer, and he was pretty chill. Of course, it cost me $100 to get his autograph picture, but we won't talk about that. I do like how he's just chill for the most part of this show. But all three of them did a very good job.
Awesome. And then I guess let's talk about Martin and Nika. I think Choo Choo kind of gets her own moment. I genuinely love Bren and Matt as Martin and Nika. I like that Bren got to do kind of an older girl sounding voice for Nika and a lot more mellow. And I think that she captures Nika's conflict in that she is being made to do horrible things and hurt the people she cares about because she's being told this is how freedom works. And Martin is kind of, like I said, Martin is kind of the doormat character to most of Earth House.
Yeah.
They really don't always listen to him, and he kind of gets a lot of these moments where he is very much the cowardly lion.
Yeah.
And Matt puts a lot into his, noises.
I think two of my favorite moments of his was one when Lalique was talking about will he be okay inside the Gundam and stuff, and he's like, yeah, I'll be fine. And she's like, take these motion sickness pills. The others, I guess, who was it? I think it was when they were meeting up with Ellen in Quiet Zero. And Ellen was like, Selena, Miorine, you okay? And he's like, wait, do you not even notice I'm here?
Yeah.
I was like, poor Martin. And Brandis Nika, it's funny because, yeah, you don't always hear Brand use a grown-up voice or a natural voice really often. So when I see her play this type of character, it was very neat. And I think, had it been any other director, I think Brandon Brittany would have been swapped. But I do appreciate Jason's choice here because she can display conflict much more easily, much more dramatically too. It's like, she knows what's holding her back, and she wants to achieve her ideals, but she doesn't really know how to go about it, So, especially she does to keep her head down, and she manages to get in trouble very easily. And what was even more interesting was at the end of the series, when after she goes to jail, she reunites with Earth House, and like Ghoul, she gets a haircut too. Not only a haircut, she's also dressed in like one of those sweater overlays like you see some rich people wearing. She looked like a different character, but she was still the same Nika. Yeah. Jet?
I like these two performances a lot. I thought Matt did a good job with Martin, kind of, trying to play the part of the leader and keep everyone together while also kind of being a bit of a doormat, getting that across really well. And then like his whole arc as a sellout, I thought Matt's delivery there was also pretty good, where you could tell he was in pretty deep conflict about that and kept trying to convince himself he he did the right thing, but wasn't really sure of his actions, which just kind of made it all the funnier when Cecilia kind of decided to, take that and mess with him for a bit. That whole thing was pretty funny. And I'm glad he and Ika were able to work things out in the end. And Matt's performance there was really good. And then Britta's Nika I thought was also really good. She did a really good job of playing the very nice girl in the beginning, where she's one of the first people in the school who's initially friendly to Selena compared to everyone else who was kind of hostile to her starting out. I thought Bryn was really great there. And then I thought, Nika's whole conflict throughout the show was really interesting, where she's kind of caught in the middle of everything between Earth and everything with the school, where where she does kind of feel for the Earthians and everything they're going through, but but also she's kind of spent a lot of time with a lot of time at the school and with all the Gundam kids, so. So she's kind of attached to that, and especially attached to the idea of being able to have a normal school life. So when all the Earthian stuff kind of comes back around, she's sort of caught in the middle, and tries to, and I guess tries to sort of play both sides in a sense, which doesn't really work out well for her when when the Dunnerful kind of come knocking and blow up a lot of things. And I especially liked the whole kind of back and forth he had with, I think it was Noria towards towards the back half of the show after everything's gone wrong, and and you can try to convince herself she did the right thing by eventually selling the Dunnerful guys out to the school.
Yeah.
She tries to convince herself she did the right thing there because obviously terrorism is wrong and you can't have that. But at the same time, because she did that, all those Earth bases are getting raided, a bunch of innocent people there are getting attacked, and and that's also on her to some degree, and you can kind of tell that Nika's really torn about that. And it's kind of interesting because in that moment, neither her or Sophie are completely right or wrong there, and I thought that was pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah. And let's talk about her.
But I guess it's time to talk about. I guess it's time to go on to the starter section. Good old Shiatri Pan Punch.
Where do we begin?
That girl has got one of the greatest single "Mama said knock you out" moments in anime.
I keep meaning to make a meme out of that, but I keep forgetting to do
that.
Josh made a few good ones.
Yeah, I feel like my time is up. So.
I think I'd like to go first here because I don't want this to. Yeah, I guess I don't want to end this on a sour note. Because again, going back around to what I said about the direction and and how I felt like some of the actors were kind of directed to do character voices. Brittany's was the one where I felt that was the most kind of enforced, and if I'm being honest, of the major characters, probably my least favorite performance in the show. Like I mentioned before, it kind of felt more like she was sort of directed to do a more of a character voice and doing something natural, even though kind of similar to Alejandro, she's done teenager voices before, and teen voices sound a little more grounded in what this is, and I'm kind of. And I thought it was kind of weird she wasn't directed to do something more along those lines, and it was kind of a bit off-putting to me in that respect. Having said all that, her acting here is so generally solid. As Brittany Karbowski, I've never heard her turn in a bad performance in anything, and she's so deliberate here where she needs to, whenever the character needs to be serious, she's serious. Whenever she needs to be funny, she's funny. But I do wish that the way she was directed was maybe a little different, and it was a little bit more of a kind of grounded character voice. And also, but all that aside, I did really enjoy her delivery during Tutu's most important scene, which is of course the punch. Brittany's delivery there is beautiful, and I definitely can't bring myself to complain about that. So that was
fun. Jamal?
I can kind of understand where you're coming from, because when I first heard her Brittany is Choo Choo, I thought to myself, I don't ever recall Brittany making that type of voice before. And then I realized, of course, it's supposed to be mousy by design because Choo Choo's a mousy person. Brittany Karbowski, if you ever met her in real life, she's a mousy person. She's also a bit of a prankster, I've learned. So, I think the one thing that really took me the longest to adjust is Choo Choo's attitude. Because, well, for one thing, she's about as vulgar as I was in high school. So, but the fact that, like, she has this bit of a prejudice because, you know, people look at it differently because it's the whole thing between spaceships and Earthians. It's not about the race, it's about the nationality. I thought that it took a minute for me to adjust, but I think Brittany did good in this role. And given that she is a unique character design, I know people are going to be asking her applying logic. I will say this, the fluffier the hair, sometimes it can be easy to compress or harder to compress depending on the product you use. Because my mom used to be a certified cosmetologist, and I've seen how she does her hair. I've seen people with, well, she doesn't have weave. I've seen people with weaves. I've seen people braid their hair. I've seen them wear dreads. It kind of depends on how the hair is really plaited out. So don't think too much of it, you know, unless you understand hair in general.
Okay, look. I'm not questioning how like she keeps the hairstyle maintained. That's fine. It's more like how does she put all that in the helmet? Is where like okay, yeah, like
yeah, that's what I was trying to explain. Yeah, I've even seen some people with like hair caps that can compress that, or maybe a little less hair, but still much hair. I will admit, I did kind of think of this for a little while because she kind of reminds me of Jasmine from the Boondocks, and hey, there's another Boondocks reference for tonight.
That's the same hairstyle.
Yeah. I mean, Brittany's a ton of fun. Yeah, your mileage may vary, but I think she held it together very well.
Mm-hmm.
Not my first choice, but hey, it works.
Like I'm not knocking the casting choice. I think pretty Brittany here was a good call. It's just more I wish she was there a bit differently.
Yeah. I also kind of needed to adjust to Brittany a little bit. I think by the end of the show she did a good job. I think the thing that really gets me about Choo Choo is that I do think at some point she is a little bit of a one-note character with the whole Spacey and turd running gag. And I get that she is angry and bitter towards things, and this is something where I'm gonna talk about like kind of like my one big complaint to the show is that I do wish that the show was like another 2 cores longer. Because I think there's a lot of things in it that just get kind of rushed because they only had 24 episodes, and I feel like developing the Earth House a little bit more and like some other things that would have helped. But I do think by the end of it, like a lot of the rest of the cast, that Choo Choo does get there as a performance, and I agree with both points that you guys have made. I think for me, her really like shining moment is when she goes to ask the girl that Alexis Tipton plays to help her in a fight.
Yeah.
And they both agree to it, and they both are able to fight together, showing that Choo Choo can grow and put her pride aside when it counts. So yeah, I genuinely enjoyed it. Alright, ready to move on to the next set of characters?
Yep.
Oh boy.
Alright! It's time, because this episode is probably releasing in and around Thanksgiving / my birthday. Let's talk about some the members of the world's most awkward Thanksgiving table. We have Prospera Mercury, aka
Elnora Samaya.
Elnora Samaya. She was the only survivor with her daughter Eric of the raid. She became Prospera Mercury and began to rebuild Ariel and a project called Quiet Zero, a world where her beloved Eric could always live. Eric, her daughter, Space Oomphy, what's she gonna do? Oh god, she's murdering people. didn't survive the trip in space, but only her mind could, so Prospera did the only thing a normal mother would do, upload her mind into a mobile suit and start cloning her. You know, normal shit. Together, Prospera wants to create a world where Eri can live freely again. Meanwhile, in the middle of the table is Belmaria Winston, the only other person who has any ties to the original Gund format. She works with Pell on the Enhanced Persons project, and she kind of just is there, I think, to mirror Prospera in that Belmira kind of cries a lot and regrets what she's done.
She's an absolutely miserable person.
Yep.
Yeah, her life sucks.
I mean, less her life sucks. I mean, yeah, her life does suck, but the way she goes about dealing with her circumstances is also not particularly sympathetic.
Not very good. And then there's Delling Rambran. He's an asshole. And the leader of the Megacorp. He doesn't really respect Minarai and is actually secretly working with Prospera on the Quiet Zero project, but it's quite clear that Prospera doesn't fucking trust him. And when push comes to shove, she's like, bye, biatch. Playing Prospera Mercury is Elizabeth Maxwell. Playing Eric Samaya is Sarah Wiedenhoff. Playing Belmaria Winston's Anastasia Munoz, and playing Delling Rembrandt is Gabe Kunda. Elizabeth Maxwell, you'll know as characters such as Sei Nijima in Persona 5. Sarah Wiedenhoff, you'll know as Ruby Kurosawa in Love Live Sunshine. Had to keep that sunrise tie! Anastasia Munoz, you'll know as Coco Heckmeter in Jormungand, and Gabe Kunda, you'll know as Kaburagi in Decadence. I think let's start with just Delling and Belmera first. Because as much as Gabe does a really good job as Delling and being this imposing assholey father thing, once Delling kind of gets shot, he doesn't do a ton.
Yeah, he is kind of in a coma for like the entire back half of the show, but for the first half of the show, he is a pretty, he's a pretty blooming presence. And it is kind of funny. It is kind of funny once again, like thinking back to today, because while Sadiq does look more, while Sadiq does resemble Akio more, in essence, Daddy here is probably closer to being the Akio of the show for at least the first half, in terms of being like the kind of very powerful symbol of authority that's sort of looming over everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this about that because it's basically Gabe Kuda's If I Speak, but as a ruthless company president, more or less. Because the whole thing with Delling is that, you know, I guess when it comes down to business, when it comes down to brass tacks, it's basically you're either with me or you're in my way. So I still remember at the early parts where he cut off some ties with some of the companies, even though they could bounce back in the corporation. They just decided to cut all funding for him. I mean, he decided to cut all the funding. And then he becomes president of this group that's outlaws gun formats. And I'm like, what is he getting at here? And then basically has almost the entire Fantasy Institute eradicated, like except for Eldora, Eric. That's about it. But I really like how Gabe has a commanding presence with his voice, and he thinks there's something else at play, especially when they explain the whole Quiet Zero thing and how part of it was a promise with Mia Reed's mother.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you were saying, I thought Gabe did a really good job making Delling sound like very authoritative. Like in general, this is a guy who is just very clearly my way the highway. Like he knows he's important and he believes his opinions are the only ones who's important. So he very much sees himself as the authority on everything, and he won't hear a second opinion from anyone else. And Gabe does across really well.
It's funny because I'm still thinking back to that party when Miri just comes up to her father and asks her to vote tried to display like some kind of pride or something, and he could have just left her hanging high and dry during the situation, but somehow he just folded.
Like in the early episodes, they're kind of meant to be under the impression that he sees, and he also kind of sees Mirade as just sort of an object or a tool for him to be used, and doesn't really think of her as a person. And to an extent, the latter is true that he doesn't really think of her as her own individual as much as a father probably should. But as we get deeper into the show, it is apparent that he does care for her on like some level. It is in his own way doing what he thinks is best for her. What he thinks what he thinks is best is having absolute control over her life, and hey, I'll marry you off to whoever is strongest because strength is all that matters and whatnot. So
yeah, that was apparently evident in the I think the third episode or so, when Selena wins the duel and she's about to be expelled from school. Miuri just steps in. Both him and Eldor allow this battle to continue to prove that Ariel is not a Gundam when we already know it is, because he's looking to gain something from it, I guess.
I think the thing that kind of really kind of gets his entire character across is during that whole conversation. It's like where you hear Mirade trying to make the case for Suletta, and his entire and basically his entire counter argument is if I say it's a Gundam, end of story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Megan? You got anything to say about Gabe as Delling? Or?
Yeah, I think he does a pretty good job as Delling. Like I said, I'm not as I just feel like Delling, I think he does a good job. He's imposing when he needs to, but I don't necessarily find the performance super memorable because Delling kind of gets put in a coma for a while.
Yeah, but when your public enemy #1, I mean.
Yeah, I think he does a good job, especially in the OVA when he gives the big speech. I think he's got enough command and command and presence in there to really knock it out of the park. And then we move to Anastasia Munoz as Belmera, who, good God, this woman's life sucks.
I'll be honest. Of the four here, I think she's the only one that actually showed remorse throughout the entire series, because you already see what happened with her in the prologue. You already see what goes on throughout this entire series, to the point that she actually helps Earthhouse with the Gundam technology.
Yep.
I think this character is very interesting, and especially in how she develops over the course of the show and with her Assassin's performance, because in the early parts of the show, she's just kind of a very helpful assistant to someone in the gang, and Anastasia gets that across really well. But then as you get deeper into the show and you learn more about her backstory, you see that she's not, if not necessarily malicious, she is kind of a little bit more self-serving than would appear at first glance. And then, when everything comes out, and she's and she goes, "Oh, I did what I have to." It's her circumstances are kind of pitiable, but at the same time, a lot of what's kind of got in her mouth is self-pity, because she's been through some really horrible circumstances, and what happened to her was unfortunate. But at the same time, no one forced her to experiment on children. She did it all on her own. So, yeah. And, I thought Anastasia did a really good job of kind of getting everything about that moment with that character across really well. Again, her circumstances did kind of suck, but I also didn't really feel bad for her towards the end.
There's just some part of her performance is just very much like watching a puppy being kicked.
Oh God.
I'm sorry, poor Belmeria is constantly getting dicked around by everybody around her. Nobody's being nice to this fucking woman. Except for the kids. Jet, you were saying?
Yeah. Again, that's true, but also at the same time, experimenting on children, not a very good look there.
Yeah, stop committing war crimes, Belmeria. Maybe your life would go better. Jesus, you ignorant slut. I liked Anastasia's performance on here. I think it's actually fairly underrated for the show. I think she has this kind of older voice of a broken down woman who's just like pleading with life to stop shitting on her, but she also created her own misfortune by, constantly just doing what the megacorp told her to.
Yeah.
Into hell with the kids. And it's like, please, you can still use him. It's like, yeah, we don't care. Just get us a new one. We know you'll do it. And, like, I think that level of guilt is always in Anastasia's voice. And then you have it contrasting with Prospera, who's like, hell yeah, I cloned my kid 13 times. What you gonna do? Cry about it? And she's kind of yanking Belmeria's chains and pulling her strings until this woman finally decides to do something and get somebody else killed. And I believe you see her at the very end of the gravesite of the woman that she got killed. But I liked Anastasia's performance. I think it was genuinely one that I don't see a lot of people really talking about. So, I think it was I think it's really nice to always hear Anastasia Munoz and stuff. Because I feel like she always isn't in things, and she's a very talented actress.
I like her a lot whenever she's in things.
Jamal?
I always said my thoughts.
Oh, shit. Everybody said their thoughts. Alright, let's get to the awkward family drama that is Eri and Prospera. So, remember when I told you I had a funny story about saying saying the phrase Oni-san or Oni-chan?
Yeah.
So, a lot of things in Gundam usually references other Gundams. Giant X amount of years franchise that Gundam is. So, a lot of things I noticed in this show reference the only Gundam I'd ever finished before watching Witch from Mercury, and that is Gundam X After War. I love Gundam X After War. It's fucking great. You should watch it. It's sub-only and only locked onto Blu-ray, but it's a good time if you find it. So there's a character, the villains in that are a pair of brothers named the Frost Brothers. And, Jamal, I don't know how familiar you are with Seiyu, but Jet, do you know the name, Nomuzu Sasaki?
It sounds vaguely familiar, but not off the top of my head.
Let me give you guys, some names that he's played. He was the Japanese Yusuke Urameshi in Yu Yu Hakusho.
Oh, cool.
He was, Ruka in Revolutionary Girl Utena. He was Johann Liebert in The Japanese Monster.
Oh, so...
But, yeah. But, he was Mello in Death Note.
Okay, like most of those I haven't heard in Japanese, that I do remember Mellow and Death Note. And it's like, the good old chocolate memes.
So...
I beg your pardon?
Oh man, fucking Death Note memes and Death Note's Prime were a fucking thing of beauty. So, you know how Eri says Big Sister a lot? And the phrase Big Sister gets thrown around in this a lot? So in Gundam X, the phrase Nissan got used a lot. Specifically by Sasaki's character, Oba. So much so that he actually got PTSD from it.
Oh my god.
Incredible.
He literally has an aversion to saying the phrase because they're Gundam X. That's my funny Gundam story. But man, speaking of little siblings, man, have any of your parents ever loved a sibling so much that when they died, they uploaded it into a giant murder robot and said it wasn't for murdering, but it was?
No, but it does sound like a pretty massive family dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I love the fucking terrifying child zone that is Eri saying, "Get the fuck out of my Gundam." Just, all of a sudden there's like 8 of her running around going, "You're not allowed here!" And like Sarah Wiedenhaft's just playing a little kid, and you're just like, is this like the mecha version of The Shining?
Yeah. To which we'll get into it later, but I do appreciate that. I do appreciate that Eric and Suletta have different voices. So I would have been alright if they were voiced by the same actor, and I would have accepted that. But it is kind of interesting they went with 2 separate actors for these two.
And they got 2 actors that did sound at least a little similar.
They do sound pretty similar.
And they share the same birthday.
Okay, that's just funny.
That is extremely funny.
I do think that there is a little... The only missed opportunity, I would say, with Eric's performance is I think it's time to rip this Band-Aid off, that Eric and via that Suletta are very much interpreted to be Middle Eastern. And while I really do like Sarah's performance as Eric, I think she gets a lot of it right. It does feel like a little disheartening knowing that a MENA actress could have done just as great of a performance, but maybe got denied the chance or just weren't considered for it. I think that is a little bit of a letdown on the directing part, not Sarah's fault. I'm going to explicitly say that it's not 100% their fault.
Yes,
they should have... What?
No, I was just going to say absolutely.
Yeah. That is a above them moment. And it's not like, given recent circumstances, that they went around demanding this role like another thing that had happened recently. But I like both the fact that Sarah can get that absolutely adorable innocence in episode 0 of the infamous Space Oomphy creation. And then you also get her as these creepy fucking Gunbit Force ghosts, and Eric herself, who is a child, a mind that is... It's so weird in that Eri will always permanently be a child, but Ariel the Gundam was able to develop and grow up, so she has this kind of teenage adult sense of miscommunication like all anime high school dramas have. Of, if I'm a dick and push them away, maybe they'll stay away and learn the lesson.
Yeah. To which I do appreciate how many people successfully called Ariel being the final boss of the show.
I did not!
Neither did I.
Surprise!
I mean, I wasn't sure if that was an actor that was going to go in for a while, but then once we got such a final actor, it was like, okay, yeah, you know what, that makes sense.
Like, we all knew Prospero was probably going to be a bad person, but not Ariel itself.
It wasn't Eric is bad and more that he's just kind of willing to go along with what Prospero wants.
Yeah.
But I do, but like we were saying, I do like Sarah's performance a lot. She does the right job of balancing between, kind of sounding like a very innocent, happy-looking kid in the prologue, and then afterwards, kind of sounding, equally cheerful as Ariel, but in a very creepy and unsettling way. And then and then whenever she needs to do the Force Ghost thing, just kind of sounding creepy in general. It's pretty well rounded, and I do and while most of it's in the back half of the show, I do kind of like the interactions she gets to have with Suletta, where she is kind of trying to pull the big sister card and keep Suletta out of danger, but Suletta's not having it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, basically. It's funny. I was gonna rip that Band-Aid off at the next section, but I'll go into more on that at length because I feel part of this conversation might tie into that. Well, for one, Sarah did a very good job as Eric because, of course, we saw the prologue, we didn't know what the deal was with Eric or why she was different from who was actually cast as Suletta and why that mattered until later on the back half of season 2. Sarah always seems to get to play some type of tragic girl in these kinds of shows. Cause I still remember that one girl from Mapo Kitan. There was her character in Invaded. Like she knows how to play tragedy very well. And I know somehow if she's listening to this episode. Hi Sarah, nice meeting you, Supercon. And then again, part of this conversation is going to tie to the next section. There's Elnora, aka Lady Prospera. For one, we understand where her maliciousness comes from, as of course was seeking revenge on Cathedra for basically murdering almost her entire family and her friends, her colleagues, if you will. And then she pops up decades later, different name, different face, different color. I put that in quotation marks because I don't understand how that worked in the time she was away, but I guess.
That part kind of threw me off too. I saw a whole bunch of people thinking for a while it might be a different person of the past for some reason.
Again, I'll go into that. I'll go into that at length in the next section. But I think for what it's worth, Elizabeth Maxwell was very good at being evil. She needed to be being very cunning, very coy if she has to. Very conniving, very untrustworthy. Basically giving you a voice to say, I don't trust you, but I want to know what you're up to. Especially with the whole part of the party where she explains to Selena that that's a Gundam. I'm sorry, sweetie, I didn't tell you.
Whoopsie!
Yep, to which, on that note, I'm gonna be real here. Elizabeth Maxwell. Best performance in the Datame.
I'm not gonna disagree with you.
She came out of the gate just running with this character, and it's delightful. Because Prospera in general there's a lot of sides to this character, and Elizabeth has to balance them, and she does that incredibly well. Like, you have Prospera as the doting mother to Suletta early on in the show, and she does a really good job of playing like the very sweet mom. Like, she's very comforting to Suletta whenever like Suletta's having a bad day. Like, oh, it's okay, sweetie, it's not a Gundam, everything's fine, and Elizabeth does that really well. And then you have her being kind of like the master manipulator and kind of egging people on without kind of letting on as to what she's really after. Like, especially in a lot of her early interactions with characters like Delling or even Miorine when she's first introduced to Prospera. And she's like, oh, well, I just want to get along with my future daughter-in-law. But maybe you shouldn't be spending all this time doing what Daddy tells you. And he just kind of like quietly egging her on, but without like directly doing anything. And I thought that Elizabeth did a really good job with that. And then you get to the back half of the show where I can't quite say it's mask off, but does finally reveal her intentions. And when she reveals everything to Miorine, just the level of anger in her voice when she's going over everything that happened to her, it's really powerful. Elizabeth's delivery there, it's incredible. And there's a lot of sides to this character. Elizabeth plays them all really well, and I feel like in some respects it is kind of weird that she does ultimately end up getting off and everything scot-free, but I mean,
Well,
the only punishment she kind of gets is, she can no longer use her legs.
Okay, yeah, she can no longer use her legs, and, the next few Thanksgivings are going to be, like, really awkward, but, hey, everyone gets a happy ending.
Aries literally in a keychain, so...
Yeah, my headcanon is that Miri probably broke her legs at some point, so...
Minore took her. Oh man, it's gonna be a shame that you'll never walk again. I wonder if that'll happen faster.
It's either the gun format or Miri pulls an RKO just right.
Just every Thanksgiving, Prosper's like, it's really hard to move my legs. I wonder who's responsible for that.
I'm sorry. I'm just imagining with Minori with a bat.
I kind of
that Choo-Choo gave her.
I kind of imagine Miri pulling an Elf Gainsborough just breaking out the folding chair.
Oh my god, it's Minori with the steel chair! Oh man, Elizabeth Maxwell is by and far the best performance in this dub. She is doing a lot of work. You have this... She is like a crystal where she is radiating off what she wants you to see until it cracks. And I think in the sense that some of her strongest moments are that genuine motherly love she has for Eri, but it's become so twisted by revenge. And if I had to give the show a real knocked, I did not particularly like the whole Force Ghost saying, "It's okay, you did what you had to," type of shit to her. I thought she should have died. I'll just say it. I think she should have died. But I think the thing about Elizabeth is that she's so good at hiding her venom. It's very much like a true snake in the grass. She's only gonna bite when she needs to. And the fact that she can be such a sweet, doting dumbass to some people, but then such a vile snake to others just shows how much Elizabeth has to work with. And I think by far Prospera is the most complicated character in the cast. And Elizabeth being as good as she is in there, I expect her to see her on a lot of people's Dubbies Awards shortlist. So, yeah, I think she did great. Ready to move on to the very end?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Let's talk about our bride and the witch. Minori Rembrandt is the only daughter of Delling Redbrand, eventual heir to the Barrett Group. She is being basically kept at the school as a prize, but in truth, all Minori wants to do is have her own freedoms, in a sense. She is very headstrong, outspoken, and she's very childish, and I think that's something she has to learn how to not to be. And then there's Soletta Mercury, who is a good-natured, naive girl from Mercury, who's being manipulated by her mom, who throughout the series grows from being kind of, I'm doing what people tell me to do because it'll make me happy, to coming into herself and learning, like, what needs to be happy isn't always doing what someone tells you to, or doing the right thing isn't the path that you've been told to take. It's clutching your own future before you to do things, even if it will hurt or even if it's not the best way. Playing Soletta Mercury is Jill Harris, and playing Minori Rembrandt is Natalie Van Sistine. Jill Harris you'll know as characters such as Yumeme in Planetarian, and Natalie Van Sistine you'll know as characters such as Arnheid in the second season of Vinland Saga. Alright, Jamal, you want to start us off?
Yes, let me get up on this soapbox here, because before I start getting to the performance, this was the biggest qualm I had. And that was how people responded to this casting. Now, I understand that this character is supposed to be Middle Eastern descent, but none of us at the beginning ever knew that, nor did we ever think that. It was never established anywhere in the series, nor in the key art. And I think that was something somebody pointed out about character coding, to which my thing is this: if it's not like used as part of the storyline, it shouldn't really matter. And on top of that, race and nationality, at most times, two different things. So when I see people try to justify one with the other, it kind of bothers me, because I remember at the beginning we all thought that Soletta, which should definitely be played by a person of color, but we all thought like she was kind of like black or something. We didn't know what she really was. I kind of perceive race differently, because as someone who's a person of color, I come from a blended family. My mom is red-skinned, but she identifies as black. So is my brother. I see the world kind of differently when it comes to characters like these. If the concept of race is not mentioned in the story or used as part of the story, this is Gundam. This is more about nationality than about races. Because Shadiq is half Spatian, but they never played up like the Ford aspect, except when they revealed his real name for that one daughter Ford kid. But other than that, it was never a further parlayed into the story. And I think for this bit alone, I don't think Jason was being malicious in his casting. I think what he did was, again, this dub came out a season after the sub dropped, so he had time to let this cook. He focused more on the core aspect of the character, and that is Selena Mercury being an anxious person who doesn't know how to handle herself just yet. Because you gotta remember, we find out that she's a replica child, which I don't know what method of clothing they took for that, and that's probably not important right now. So she didn't have much of an upbringing. As a matter of fact, there's a story out there that was published from the Gundam people on Twitter. Yeah, I'll post a link in the description that explains Aries and Selena's upbringing. And Selena doesn't really know what's going on. All I know is that she feels comfortable with Ariel. So when she gets her first taste of a normal life, she's kind of anxious on how to go about it. And I know we're just going to go into this at some point, I think they kind of casted Selena very well, because I've seen Jill play these types of characters. Hell, I've even seen her in person where she can be a little anxious at times. I know she knows how to play that character. The only real problem was when they had to dial in that anxiety, because, you can be as frantic as you need to be, but you gotta know when to tone it down somewhere. I thought she did very well as Selena. To the point, so there was at one point on Twitter that she accidentally fell down the stairs and hurt herself, and she made that one noise in that one episode when Miuri just punches her in the chest. And I thought, wow, that's being true to your character, but there's some things you can't help. But I think at its core, Jill did a very good job as Selena, especially like towards the end when the two finally get together, and Selena's trying to regain control of her body after being exposed to the gun format. I mean, you see in the end with a pair of crutches beside her. Man, if I had two nickels for every time a red-headed witch became handicapped by the end of a series, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice.
Jamal, I try to purge that series from my memory at all time. Why did you do this to me?
I had to make the joke back in.
Well, at least Suletta never fire and rode a gun between her leg with no pants on.
I know where you're going with that, and I must remind you, I am not Andrew. Yeah. Just throwing that out there. Anywho, as for Mirin, Danny did very well as Mirin, because, for one thing, you don't hear a lot of these types of roles. She's really coming into her own lately. And I met her at a Taku Fest earlier this year. I explained to her that her voice is kind of like if Abilene Carter's purged the I guess the roughest parts of her voice and it just became Natalie, because I can definitely hear it. At most points, it definitely sounds like Abilene, to be honest. And the way she can just be brash and kind of harsh, also suave too, but she knows what she wants, she knows how to get it, and she knows there are people that will stand in her way, but it doesn't matter to her as long as she knows how to meet her goal. And with the whole dueling game going on, she's just trying to find a way out, just trying to find a way to Earth, and in the end she kind of succeeds, and her and Selena get together, and I thought these two were a very good pairing, and I know Elizabeth Maxwell had the best performance in the show, but these two had some of the best moments for me in the show, especially the one where the two are just talking it out in space, and Selena just feels that she's made Mirin angry when really she made her happy,
yeah, that moment was really sweet.
Yeah, I thought that felt very good, and it was just beautiful all over. the way they approach it from start to finish. Even the awkward moments with Celeste where I kind of had to cover up my eyes a bit because, when you're an anxious person in a new setting, sometimes you can do some kind of things that might come off very cringe, but, you're just trying to be the best person you can be, as normal as you can be in the setting. But overall, these two did a very good job, and I probably should get a bottle of water, because I think this is the most I ever talked consecutively in one sitting.
I feel ya. I'll go next. Do you mind if I go next and I'll let you finish it out, Jamal? Jet?
Oh, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, no. So, I do, I both agree and disagree with some points that you had, Jamal, but I think the thing that really... And I've already brought up my point about the casting, and I 100% agree Jason Lord did not do this out of malice. We have seen what a casting out of malice looks like.
Yeah, let's not talk about that, please.
Yeah, I'm being very vague about it for a reason. But the thing that I like, and I'll admit, Suletta did take a little bit to settle down. Jill did take a little bit of time to settle into Suletta as a role, because Suletta does, have a lot of anxiety. But I think the thing that really excels for me and Jill's preference is how warm she makes Suletta. Yeah. I feel a very genuine sense of warmth and friendship and wanting to be a nice, normal girl in her performance. And I also sense that childish adherence to your parents' word, where, when she, at the end of season 1, where she just straight up smashes
Oh,
dude.
Yeah, holy shit. The look on Mia Reed's face.
Yeah, we're, unflinching murder!
The look on Mia Reed's face.
Baby's first crime!
I am sad there's not a gift for that. Well, there's a gift for Select the Questioner guy, but not Mia Reed's face after that.
But, that whole childishness of I helped you. And, she doesn't, Suletta can't process that doing that was a bad thing because her mom told her to. And, I'll admit, I know some people are probably going to think I'm saying this in a malicious way, and I don't mean this in a malicious way at all, I swear to God. If Suletta Mercury, if you told me Suletta Mercury was autistic, I'd believe you.
I don't disagree with that. I also agree.
Last two Gundams I've seen, Mikazuki, Suletta, on the spectrum. Especially Mikazuki. But there's this, that level of, you can see how much she's been, emotionally manipulated in that. And I also love how when you finally see Suletta finally crack as a person like that, where she's just trying to push on, nothing bad has ever happened, and she stops eating, and she stops going to class, and she finally cries in front of other people. I think that moment is where she really turns the full point to become the only person who could save everybody. Because I think if she doesn't have that, she can't pilot Calibarn and go into Area Zero and tell her mom no. The first time she's told her mom, no, this is not what I'm doing what is best, and it's not what you want. And I find it kind of so funny and ironic that the two forms of a mother's love is what saves, which is what causes things and saves everything. Because Prospera's toxic love and attachment to Eri and less Suletta almost damns the universe, but it's Minore's mom's genuine love for her that saves everybody. Because, she put the fucking password in a genetic tomato code.
Yep, that was smart.
Mm.
To which Natalie Van Sistine as Minore is fantastic. I think that she's got all of that angry teenage girl angst in there, as well as the pride of a child trying to act like an adult. It's very much someone who always thinks that they know what's best, And that not, and in a way, she is also a lot like Shadiq, but she doesn't want to admit that she has also hardened her heart and boxed people out. Because remember, she doesn't even believe in helping Suletta on a lot of things at first until she's, like, hard convinced that it can fuck over her dad. And she eventually comes to love her. And I think Natalie gets that across, and you see these great moments of her vulnerability and her pain when she makes these mistakes, because when Minori makes mistakes, they're not little mistakes, they're catastrophic mistakes. They're mistakes that get people killed. They are things that traumatize her, and it's the fact that these two girls who are traumatized and denied their own agency and find it in each other, and that's what saves things, is really great. And I really like that Natalie's performance matches Jill's in pace to pace. I do think Natalie's a little stronger than Jill's performance, but overall, I genuinely liked both performances a lot. Jet?
Cool. Alright, so, I think I'll start with Jill. So, if I'm being completely honest, I personally, I think she kind of needed an episode or two to completely get into character. I watched the Japanese, like I mentioned before, I did watch the show simulcasted. And speaking a bit personally, given that Suletta is a pretty, socially awkward and kind of anxious person, as mentioned before, one of the things I liked about the Japanese performance was how Kane Chinose's take kind of had Suletta kind of stumbling or mumbling a lot of her words in the beginning, which, as a person with a lot of social anxiety myself, and as a person who kind of tends to nervous stutter a lot when I get excited, is that you've probably heard it numerous times over the course of this episode, or pretty much any episode I'm on, and it can be kind of annoying, but that is a thing for me, and it's something I can relate to, so it's a part of the performance I liked. And comparatively with Jill's performance, at least for the early parts of the show, it kind of felt like she was directed to do more of what I would kind of call the more, shy boy anime girl kind of thing, which is, that's fine, and she does it really well. There's nothing performance-wise I would complain about, but there's a little less nuance in that than what I felt kind of was doing early on. And I felt like a lot of the aspects I mentioned before, with Kyle's performance in regards to a lot of the sampling or kind of mumbling over words and things like that. I noticed a lot of that kind of got gradually added to Jill's performance over the course of the show. And thanks to that, it definitely did grow on me with time. But I do think it kind of took maybe I see maybe midway through episode 2 or so for I think Jill and Jason to kind of get a complete grasp on where they wanted to go with the character. And then after that, I thought it was really consistent. But aside from that, I really did like the performance a lot. Really did capture a lot of what I thought made Suletta really interesting in the character. Between a lot of the anxiety and, as mentioned before, the kind of childish aspect of just constantly obeying her mom and not really being able to think for herself. And I thought that Jill got a lot of that across really well. And just in general, I think, just a lot of general moments where kind of trying and struggling to kind of open up to people. I think one moment I like particularly was in episode 11 where Sunoda's kind of struggling with anxiety over feeling like she doesn't really contribute anything to the group, and it's it's little things everyone was giving out lunches and she didn't get hers, so she thinks she was intentionally left out, or everyone has things to do and she feels like she doesn't, and she feels really insecure about that, and starts to feel like no one wants her around, and those are anxieties I can relate to quite a bit, and I thought it was really nice to see those kind of anxieties taken seriously, and I thought that Jill did a really great job of making Suletta come off as a bundle of nerds there without getting too over the top with it, and I liked her delivery in that episode a lot. And then, as mentioned before, I do think she did a really good job handling the evolution of Suletta as she kind of grows more confident and eventually gets eventually gains some degree of independence from her mother, and is eventually able to tell her off in the finale, and it feels well earned. And I thought Jill did a really great job there.
Mm-hmm.
And then going into Natalie with Miorine. I know I said before that Elizabeth was my favorite performance in the show. I would say Natalie comes in a very close second. I felt like she really understood the character pretty much immediately and had Miorine's standoff nature just kind of like nailed down to a science pretty much right off the bat. And it's definitely interesting because, well, Miorine does act prickly a lot of the time, and Natalie does that really well, especially early on in the show. You can definitely see through her performance how Suletta kind of gradually causes her to soften up a bit. And I especially liked how she handled everything during the whole party thing, where Suletta kind of gets put on a pseudo witch trial at the dinner party. And Riordan goes out of her way to stand up for Suletta for the first time, and is even willing to put up with her terrible dad for it and like asking for help, which for someone as powerful as Riordan, that was definitely a big sacrifice, and that's definitely true love if I've ever seen it. And Riordan definitely. And, you definitely feel for Miorine there, and Natalie's performance there was really great. And I definitely liked her delivery in episode 11, where she's confronting Suletta over her growing anxieties and convinces Suletta that she really does want her around and is important to her. But just, basically full on love confession there, and Natalie does a really good job of handling every aspect of that scene really well, including getting frustrated over Suletta's refusal to stop being mean to herself. And, then, the whole part where she was kind of like making demands of Suletta throughout that entire conversation.
Yeah.
Was like pretty amusing. And so, like, especially that whole bit where she's like, "Oh, I want you to clean my room every day," because it's kind of and then he kind of like sees Suletta's face in that moment. It's really funny.
It's really cute. All right, are we ready to move into final thoughts?
Yes.
All right, Jamal, you go first.
Well, this is not my first rodeo doing a Gundam dub talk. Unlike Iron-Blooded Orphans, I managed to keep up with this one on streaming. This is actually the first Gundam I've ever finished, if you can believe it.
Yay! Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats.
And having seen it fully now, I will say this is. I don't care what most people say. This would probably be a good one to start. If you were to start with Gundam, you don't have to start with any other Gundam, as Megan demonstrated already. I think the story is beautiful, the setting and everything. It all just seems to flow together. The dub is almost perfect. Yeah, there have been a few hiccups here and there. Of course, you already heard my qualms. But Jamal, why would you say something so controversial yet so brave? Well, that's just my reality. That's just my observation, You don't have to agree with me. You can form your own opinion on the dub. I will just say, at least give it a chance, because you can tell how much work has been put into this series. Like, I think more than any other anime I've ever watched this year, to be honest. And, your mileage may vary in certain areas, but give it a watch. You will not be disappointed. And let me tell you, it is so memorable. I didn't even have time to watch this series, but I can still recall almost every moment. That's how good it is. Or that the songs, but yeah, you really need to give this a shot, please.
Awesome, Jet.
Yes, yeah, I really like this show a lot. So, really good, solid commentary, really good. It's a really good job of kind of bringing Gundam. I can't say bringing Gundam into the modern era, because Gundam's done a pretty good job of adjusting to modern times really well. But it's like, yeah, if you really want to make a Gundam for modern audiences, this was like definitely the way to do it. And as mentioned before, I really do appreciate just like all the Lieutenant nods. Yeah, I mean, hey, if we're gonna rip off anything, why not do to them? Like, the work of these spin-offs. We need more of this.
Yeah.
And then as far as the dub goes, I enjoyed it a lot. As mentioned before, So, and there are certain aspects of how, like, some of the actors were directed that I would kind of nitpick here and there. But on the whole, I thought the dub sounded really solid. A lot of really good performances. A couple I was really impressed with. And on the whole, I think it's really solid. And if you're interested in checking out the show, I definitely double do you wrong here.
I think that the dub has some consistency issues in the back half of the casting, and if they went and polished this up for home video, like, I wouldn't be offended if they did. I think that the dub is very solid. Definitely comes together when it needs to. Overall, it was an easy dub to watch. Like, I'm not gonna say it wasn't hard. It was a hard dub to watch. In fact, it was very easy to get through and sit through, because I put my Nintendo Switch on my work desk and put Crunchyroll up and just watched it off of there, and it sounded great, by the way. For as much as the tiny ass little speaker on a Nintendo Switch sounds, it actually sounded very good. I do think that there are nitpicks here and there. I'll see how I feel about it as an end of the year project when I sit down and actually go through more things from this year, because we're finally getting into that time as of this recording. But I guess the biggest thing to say is how you feel about this dub is up to interpretation.
Well, if I had to get at least one of those jokes in there somewhere.
I was holding it in the whole time. Yeah, by the way, my biggest complaint is to the cowards at Bandai's executives. They're gay and married. Eat my ass.
Yeah, there was like, it literally could not have possibly been any clearer they were married. That was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, they're gay. Keep scrolling. If you would like to keep scrolling to watch this, you can watch it on Crunchyroll, and I believe it is still up on Gundam Info. The Gundam Info YouTube, which is Gundam's official YouTube, and if you, they rotate shows out there all the time, and they have different things, including the stuff from Nozomi, which, now that CR owns Right Stuff and therefore owns Nozomi, they should probably hopefully be getting more Gundam titles up streaming on their site, I hope and pray. But yeah, if you like this, the sub and the dub is out. At the time of this recording, I do not believe home video has been discussed for this yet.
It has not been announced yet.
Yeah, it has not been announced for home video at this time, but if it does, you will know where to get it, and there will be announcements for it. If you like us, we are the Dub Talk Podcast. You can follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Tumblr, whatever the hell we're on. Our podcast is on both Apple Podcast and Spot and Podbean.
Hi, I'm back again. The effort to get through the episode, we accidentally forgot to plug ourselves. So if you want to know where we can find us, Megan can be found on Twitter at Queen02. She posts on the regular. Jack can be found on Twitter at Divine Nega. He's also part of the podcast O&A, alongside his fellow Dub Talk co-host, Andrew. He also has a blog called The Nerdy Abyss, where most of the time he's just blogging about the latest stuff he's reading in Shonen Jump. So you give it a check, it's pretty good stuff. As for me, I'm an assistant editor for the podcast. It can be found on Twitter at Jamstar529, on YouTube at Jamstar1. I am trying to get something going, but right now it's just collecting dust. And we're also available on Blue Sky. So for right now, we're also sticking around Twitter because, because Twitter's so dumpster but right now we'll stick with it best we can, Anyway, back to the episode.
If you'd like to support us as a one-time, you can use our coffee. But if you'd like to support us on the regular, we do have a Patreon. And we'd like to give out a shout-out to our $5 Patreons, Michelle Travis, Victor Mayborda, and of course my parents. And our $10 tier Patreons, Anthony Brown, Carly Lesticow, Kimwasu, Marissa Lenti, and Otaku Anthony. And thank you, and as for our wonderful theme song that is done by Pompoco in the Distance, aka Gabriel Porcinelli.
Yeah.
And you can find their info linked below. Gentlemen, the duel is over, and now we can go before the gun horrors chase us out of this building that we stole.
Yeah, to which there is only one final thing I must say. Pay that Crunchyroll. You've got a lot of real estate. You've got Yoasobi in your pocket now. It would be a really cool thing to do. You can take that Nintendo license to give us a new dub. Just slap the Gundam Mercury cast right on there. You can do it. It would be extremely funny. I'm sure Joel Harrison would make a really good internet. Just do it.
I kind of thought about bread, but yeah, I see your point.
If you're listening, hey, Sunrise, I know you don't like Gundam X existing, but you should really let them dub it. I want to see somebody experience the new type dolphins in English.
Oh yeah, because you brought it up earlier with the Nintendo Switch. If y'all get a chance to listen to these opening and ending songs, I suggest you do so on YouTube. Because trust me, listening to it from a sidebar does not do Red Birthmark justice.
Absolutely not. It's the best ED. Mm-hmm. Also, I guess if we're saying controversial Gundam takes, Slash by Yama was the superior opening.
I'll take your word for it.
Gentlemen, do you want to say goodnight?
Yeah, have a good night, all.
Good night, Otaku-an, and Elia Acta Est. This episode is over.
Everybody have a good night. And remember, if your family members are awkward to you, just threaten their kneecaps. They don't need them. Good night.